Constitutional Council meeting called first time after amendment ordinance. Appointment of Chief Justice of Supreme Court on the agenda. Nepal scraps trade union provisions for civil servants. Government orders audit of vehicles used by former top office bearers. Nepal reports 41 deaths from various natural disasters as pre-monsoon risks intensify. BP highway night closure enforced amid flood damage. Israeli strikes kill 3 in southern Lebanon amid reports of ceasefire breach. Renewed clashes with Hezbollah raise fears of wider conflict. 3 evacuated as hantavirus outbreak on cruise ship leaves 3 dead and sparks international alarm. And players threaten French Open boycott over prize money. Sabalenka and golf back action as dispute with Roland Garros escalates. Good evening, I am Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World Prime Time News coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. A meeting of the Constitutional Council has been called to forward the process for the appointment of Chief Justice of Supreme Court. As per the direction of the Prime Minister, also the chairperson of the Constitutional Council, the Council Secretariat called the meeting for Thursday. The meeting is scheduled at 5 p.m. at the office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers in Singhdarbar. Recommendation of appointment of Chief Justice is the main agenda of the meeting. Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal, National Assembly Chair Narayan Prasad Dahal, Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Sobita Gautam, Opposition Party Leader in the House of Representatives Bhishmaraj Angdembe and Deputy Speaker Ruby Kumari Thakur have been invited to attend the meeting. The government's ordinance on Constitutional Council has drawn criticism from legal experts who warn it bypasses parliamentary processes and weakens constitutional norms. Government, on the other hand, claims the move is centered in fast-track working action plan and ending politicization and political interferences. With legal advices, we examine more on this as Sabika Shrestha brings this report.
In a move that is already stirring political and legal debate, President Ramchandra Paudel issued an ordinance amending key provisions related to Nepal's Constitutional Council, a body responsible for recommending appointments to top constitutional positions. The ordinance, brought on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers led by Prime Minister Balendra Shah, revises both quorum requirements and decision-making procedures. The government says these ordinances are essential to break long-standing deadlocks that have delayed critical appointments.
केही क्षेत्रमा कानुनको अभाव वा अस्पष्टता भएका कारण काम अगाडि बढाउन कठिन भइरहेको थियो। त्यस्ता कानुनी अवरोधहरू हटाएर तुरुन्त निर्णय गर्न कानुन आवश्यक थियो र हामीले अध्यादेश लिएर आयौं।
Under the new provision, a meeting of the 6-member Constitutional Council can now proceed with the chairperson and at least 3 members present, lowering the earlier threshold that required 5 members, including the chair. This effectively means decisions can be made with just 4 members of the council in attendance. The ordinance also clarifies that decisions can be taken by a majority of those present, including the chairperson, replacing the earlier system that required unanimous decisions in the first meeting and only allowed majority decisions later based on the total number of members. As of May 2026, the council is chaired by Prime Minister Shah and includes Acting Chief Justice Sapna Pradhan Malla, House Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal, National Assembly Chair Narayan Dahal, Opposition Leader Bhishmaraj Angdembe and Deputy Speaker Ruby Kumari Thakur. The government argues that ambiguity in interpreting majority of total members had been a major obstacle, often leading to repeated disputes over quorum and preventing timely decisions. However, the ordinance has not come without resistance.
They cannot say it is time consuming. There is a, our philosopher, Montesquieu has said there is a separation of power. Judiciary is one hand, parliament is another hand, and executive is in another hand. Because the parliament's role is law-making authority, and judiciary's role is law interpreting authority, and executive role is council of minister role is executing the law. That is why when the law is made by the out of parliament through the ordinance, how can we say this is a democratic system? How can we say this is a lawful and democratic country?
It had initially been returned by Paudel himself after concerns were raised by constitutional experts, particularly over whether such changes dilute the principle of majority decision making. Law experts argue that such changes should go through parliamentary debate rather than being introduced through ordinances.
In the pretext of strengthening the system, you cannot pass the law through the back door. You have to pass the law through the parliament. This is the democratic system. In each and every democratic system, you have to you have to pass the law through the parliament by discussing, by giving chances to the opposition parties, and after listening the opposition parties, then you can pass the law through the parliament.
The development now sets the stage for a broader national debate, one that pits the urgency of administrative efficiency against the need to uphold constitutional principles. While the current ordinance is seen as less extreme, critics argue it still does not fully address the concern that decisions should reflect a majority of the full council, not just those present. With legal experts raising concerns and political reactions building, the ordinance could soon face scrutiny, not just in the public atmosphere, but potentially in the courts as well. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Nepali Congress has announced it will raise strong objections in Parliament over the government's ordinance on the Constitutional Council. Speaking after a parliamentary party meeting in Singhadarar, party's president Gagan Thapa said the party has serious disagreement with the ordinance and has directed lawmakers to firmly raise the issue in the House.
संविधानको परिधिभित्र रहेर प्रतिपक्षको भूमिका निर्वाह गर्ने पनि हाम्रो काम हो। जहाँ प्रश्न गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ त्यहाँ कांग्रेसले प्रश्न गर्छ, जहाँ खबरदारी गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ त्यहाँ खबरदारी गर्छ, जहाँ विकल्प सुझाउनु पर्ने हुन्छ त्यहाँ हामीले विकल्प सुझाउँछौं। बहुमतले जहिले कानुन बनाउन सक्छ, तर कस्तो कानुन बनाउने, त्यो कानुनको प्रयोग कसरी गर्ने भन्ने कुरा बडो महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा हो। यसमा सरकारको ख्याल पुगेको छैन, हामीले सम्झाउनु पर्छ भन्ने कुरा हो एउटा।
Thapa added that while the party will not obstruct constitutionally valid government actions, it will strongly oppose any steps that it considers unconstitutional. Nepal has scrapped trade union provisions for civil servants following a new ordinance the Ministry of Federal Affairs and General Administration has announced. The government said the provision allowing trade unions under Civil Service Act 2049 has been removed through the Some Nepal Acts Amendment Ordinance 2083. All government employees have been instructed not to engage in any union-related activities. The ministry has ordered all government offices, including ministries, departments, commissions and secretariats, to close trade union offices immediately. It also directed that state buildings, workspaces, vehicles and other facilities used by unions be returned without delay. Employees involved in union committees are to be reassigned to their official duties based on approved posts according to a secretary-level decision. The move marks a major shift in public sector labor rights with implications for civil service organization and workplace representation across the country. The government has emerged tough against the trend of enjoying dual facilities from the state coffers. In this connection, the Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers directed the Home Ministry to submit detailed information of the vehicles being used by the former dignitaries today itself. The information was sought via the Home Ministry after a study conducted by Prime Minister's office found some former dignitaries were still using the vehicles more than prescribed by law or were taking dual facilities from different government bodies. A strict direction was issued to Home Ministry today immediately to send the records of vehicles used by former dignitaries, former presidents, former vice presidents, former prime ministers, chief justices, former speakers of the House and former chairperson of the National Assembly. The information could be sent via email within office hours today. Deepa Dahal, press and research expert to Prime Minister Balendra Shah, informed the government had sought details on vehicles used, in fact, in a bid to prevent misuse of state funds and maintain good governance. We've got more news coming up, but right now it's time for a short break. You're watching NTV World and this is Primetime News. Welcome back. Nepal has recorded 41 deaths from disaster-related incidents in the past 20 days. This is according to National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority. The agency said a total of 868 disaster incidents were reported during this period, affecting 1,109 families and leaving 204 people injured. Lightning strikes accounted for 12 of the deaths, while fires were the most frequent incidents, with 304 cases reported. In the past 24 hours alone, 4 people were killed and 15 injured in separate disaster events. Officials warned that continued pre-monsoon weather activity and changing conditions are increasing risks, urging the public to remain alert. The authority also called on government agencies and communities to strengthen preparedness and response plans ahead of the monsoon season. In view of recurring obstructions on the BP highway, especially in the section of Roshi River, the security bodies have urged everyone traveling through this route to be aware of the road condition before traveling. District Security Committee has already decided to close the highway at night from Tuesday for an indefinite period. The road closure is effective from 5 p.m. to 5 in the morning. This decision came in the wake of rainfall wreaking havoc on Roshi riverbank, from where temporary diversion is made to ease the transport. The riverside highway was damaged massively 2 years ago, for which permanent solution is awaited. An 18-kilometer stretch of the BP highway is currently facing hindrances and sometimes even causing grave threat to passengers on Roshi riverbank. 2 days ago, a joint squad of security forces had to conduct a rescue operation at night after 5 microbuses trapped in the flooded Roshi River following the rainfall. Chitwa National Park has, in the first 10 months of the current fiscal year, recorded the death of 6 Royal Bengal tigers. The latest death was reported on Monday after a carcass of a male tiger of around 2 years of age was recovered from the park area. The park's information officer, Abhinash Thapamagar, said the dead include 2 male, 3 female, while the gender of the remaining 1 is yet to be ascertained. Among them, 2 tigers had fought to death, while 1 died of natural causes. 3 died after their rescue. According to latest census, the park is home to 128 tigers. The results of this year's census are yet to be released. Nepal has introduced a new fertilizer distribution framework aimed at improving agricultural productivity and eliminating chronic shortages during planting seasons. The government said the subsidized fertilizer distribution management procedure 2082 will come into effect from August 7, ensuring more efficient and transparent allocation of chemical fertilizers to farmers. Under the new system, 10% of total fertilizer supply will be kept as a buffer stock for emergency and key crop production. Authorities say this will help prevent shortages during peak farming periods. The policy also sets strict timelines for collection: 10 days in the Tarai Plains, 15 days in the hills, and 21 in the Himalayan region to reduce delays that previously disrupted distribution. Cooperatives, firms and companies will be authorized as distributors, required to allocate fertilizer fairly based on farmer identification and maintain digital records of all transactions. Violations, including overpricing, will result in cancellation of licenses and legal action. Officials say the reforms are designed to reduce inequality, improve oversight, and ensure timely access to fertilizers for farmers across the country. International news coming up next after this short breather. Israeli airstrikes and drone attacks on southern Lebanon from Tuesday night to Wednesday morning killed 3 people and injured several others. 2 people were killed and another injured in an airstrike on the town of Deir Kifa on the Bint Jabal district, while a separate strike claimed 1 more life in the town of Atshid in the Napatieh district. An Israeli drone also struck paramedics from the Islamic Health Organization in Deir Kifa at dawn, injuring 3 medics who were rushed to local hospitals as overnight raids caused heavy damage to Bor's Kalaouye public school in Brachid and Kalaouye. In response, Hezbollah announced retaliatory attacks against Israeli forces, including artillery fire on military vehicles in the Wadi al-Jamal area and a drone strike on Israeli troops gathered at the Al-Salah Hill in the town of Kantara. The renewed violence raises serious concerns over the durability of the ceasefire agreement, with clashes on both sides threatening to reignite a broader conflict along the Israeli-Lebanese border. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi held high-level talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing on Wednesday, focusing on bilateral relations and the latest regional developments amid escalating tensions in West Asia. The Beijing visit is part of a broader diplomatic push by Tehran following a 3-nation tour that took Araghchi to Pakistan, Oman and Russia, where he met with President Vladimir Putin, who pledged Moscow's full support in facilitating a peace settlement in the Middle East. In Pakistan, Araghchi reviewed conditions under which Iran-US negotiations could continue, describing the Islamabad consultations as very productive. Discussions in Oman centered on maritime security and safe passage through the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Araghchi described the trip to Beijing as part of Tehran's ongoing diplomatic consultations with global partners, with talks expected to cover both bilateral ties and broader regional stability. The flurry of diplomatic engagements reflects Iran's efforts to consolidate regional and international support amid a sharpening power struggle with the US over vital waterways and regional influence. China's foreign ministry has said Foreign Minister Wang Yi called for an end to hostilities in the Middle East and for the US and Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz during talks with his Iranian counterpart. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian at a press conference said, in his own words, China believes that a complete cessation of hostilities is imperative, Restarting the conflict is even more unacceptable, and persisting in negotiations is particularly important.
中方主张，海湾和中东国家应当把命运掌握在自己手里，鼓励伊朗和更多的海湾国家开展对话，实现睦邻友好，支持由地区国家建立共同参与、维护共同利益、实现共同发展的地区和平与安全架构。
Ukraine has released footage purportedly showing its domestically produced Flamingo grounded launched cruise missiles striking targets in Russia as part of an overnight deep strike operation, according to images shared on President Volodymyr Zelensky's social media channels on 5th of May. The Flamingo missile is claimed to have a range of 3,000 kilometers, approximately 1,900 miles, marking a significant addition to Ukraine's long-range strike arsenal. Kyiv has intensified its retaliatory deep strikes in recent weeks, hitting a series of Russian oil facilities and a luxury high-rise building in Moscow in the lead-up to Russia's annual May 9 Victory Day celebrations. The strikes signal Ukraine's growing capability and willingness to carry the fight deeper into Russian territory as the war enters a critical phase. And international media has stated it cannot independently verify the location, date, contents, or the authenticity of the released images, but reiterated the information. At least 8 people were killed and dozens more wounded after a massive blaze tore through a commercial complex in the city of Andishe, west of Tehran, on Tuesday. State media confirmed the casualties as emergency and rescue teams were deployed to the scene. Images from the site showed the scale of destruction left behind by the deadly inferno. The fire swept through the commercial complex, leaving a trail of devastation in the western outskirts of the Iranian capital. Authorities have yet to officially announce the cause of the blaze, as investigations are expected to get underway. More international news and sports update coming up next after this short break. North Korea has deleted all references to uniting with South Korea from its constitution, underscoring Pyongyang's push for a more hostile policy towards Seoul. The revised constitution, introduced in March and shared at South Korea's Unification Ministry news conference, also includes a new clause delineating North Korea's territory, stating it borders China and Russia to the north and the Republic of Korea to the south. The development follows North Korean leader Kim Jong-un labeling Seoul as the most hostile state in a policy address in March, with Pyongyang conducting 4 missile tests in April alone. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung has called for unconditional talks with the North, but Pyongyang has repeatedly ignored Seoul's overtures and continued to label the South its most hostile adversary. North Korea has also drawn closer to Russia, sending troops and artillery shells to support Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, as Kim vows to further expand his nuclear forces. 3 passengers have been evacuated from the virus-hit cruise ship MV Hondius as a hantavirus outbreak on board continues to spread across multiple countries. A 56-year-old British doctor, one of those evacuated from the vessel off Cape Verde, is now in stable condition after previously being in critical state. The evacuees include nationals from Britain, Germany and the Netherlands. The ship, which departed Argentina on 1st of April, has recorded at least 3 deaths and several infections linked to the rodent-borne virus. World Health Organization has warned limited human-to-human transmission may have occurred among close contacts on board. A separate case has been confirmed in Switzerland involving a passenger who traveled on the ship, although authorities there say the overall public risk remains low. A political dispute, meanwhile, is unfolding over whether the vessel should be allowed to dock in Spain's Canary Islands, with regional authorities opposing the plan, despite the central government backing docking in Tenerife on safety grounds. Health officials across Europe and Africa continue tracing contacts and managing evacuations as investigations into the outbreak remain ongoing. G7 trade ministers convened in Paris on Wednesday for the second day of their summit, hosted by French Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade Nicolas Forissier. The high-level gathering brings together trade chiefs from the world's 7 leading economies at a time of significant global economic uncertainty and mounting trade tensions. France's role as host underscores Paris's active engagement in shaping the multilateral trade agenda amid shifting global dynamics. The summit is expected to address pressing issues including tariff disputes, supply chain resilience, and the broader impact of geopolitical tensions on international commerce. Outcomes from the 2-day ministerial meeting are anticipated to signal the G7's collective stance on global trade policy in the months ahead. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has rallied supporters ahead of the May 7 nationwide local elections, vowing that his government will not lose focus on bringing down the cost of living despite conflicts and instability rocking global markets. Speaking at a hustings in South London, Starmer pledged that the Labour government would continue to invest in renewable energy initiatives to help ease the impact of energy price fluctuations on British households.
Ask most people what matters to them most, and they will say the cost of living. And that is what we absolutely have to focus on. And that's why I'm so proud that that was the centrepiece of our budget last year and the focus of all of our actions, because we must always have in our mind's eye the people most affected by our decisions when we're taking our decisions. That mistake, we will be not heading back for the status quo. We will be heading upwards to say we need to take more decisions on our economy to make sure it works for working people across the country. More decisions on energy so that the bills of households across the country are not impacted every single time there's an international effect or conflict. And that means we must go absolutely faster in relation to renewables. Take back control of our bills, because that's the only way we can protect people. And we absolutely
expected to accelerate talk of a leadership challenge within the party. Time now for sports update. Top tennis players led by world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka have warned of a possible boycott of the French Open if prize money is not increased. Coco Gauff also voiced support, intensifying pressure on organizers. Despite a 10% raise, bringing the total prize pool to 61.7 million euros, players say their share remains under 15% of tournament revenue, which is far below the 22% they are demanding, in line with ATP and WTA 1000 events. Sabalenka called the situation unfair and suggested a boycott may be the only way to secure change, though she remains hopeful negotiations will lead to a resolution. The dispute highlights ongoing tensions over revenue distribution, with Roland Garros still lagging behind other Grand Slams in player compensation. Before wrapping up, here's a reminder of our top stories this hour. Constitutional Council meeting called first time after amendment ordinance, appointment of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court on the agenda. Nepal scraps trade union provisions for civil servants. Government orders audit of vehicles used by former top office bearers. Nepal reports 41 deaths from various natural disasters as pre-monsoon risks intensify. BP highway night closure enforced amid flood damage. Israeli strikes killed 3 in southern Lebanon amid reports of ceasefire breach. Renewed clashes with Hezbollah raise fears of wider conflict. 3 evacuated as hantavirus outbreak on cruise ship leaves 3 dead and sparks international alarm. Spain faces political row over ship docking. And players threaten French Open boycott over prize money. Sabalenka and Goff back action as dispute with Roland Garros escalates. And that's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and also get the latest update from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World. Facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I am Sabika Shrestha, your host for The Perspective. Each week we bring you the stories that matter and the developments shaping Nepal's political and social landscape. This week's episode provides in-depth coverage of the following topics. President Ramchandra Paudel issues a key ordinance while returning a Constitutional Council amendment for review, sparking debate over executive powers. The government proceeds with a sweeping civil service reform set to remove more than 1,500 officials, and eviction operations intensify across the Kathmandu Valley as authorities carry out demolitions and relocations. We begin with the details. President Ramchandra Paudel has promulgated an ordinance to amend several Nepal acts on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers in accordance with Article 114 of the Constitution. However, he has returned the Constitutional Council Amendment Ordinance for reconsideration, citing the need for further constitutional review and past precedents. Meanwhile, the government is set to dismiss 1,594 officials appointed by the previous administration once the ordinance is published in the official gazette. Formal notifications will be issued to those affected, while acting chiefs or joint secretaries will temporarily assume responsibilities to ensure continuity of governance. The move introduced through the Special Provisions Ordinance 2083 is aimed at restructuring public service appointments, with the vacancies to be filled through a competitive, merit-based process in line with existing legal provisions. President Ramchandra Paudel issued 2 more ordinances on Saturday, taking the total number endorsed so far to 6. The cabinet had earlier recommended 8 ordinances covering a range of areas, including health, science, academics, universities, public procurement, anti-money laundering, and provisions related to the removal of public officials. The latest ordinances include provisions on the removal of public officials and amendments to existing laws. These ordinances have been introduced under Article 114 of the Constitution of Nepal, which allows the government to promulgate laws when Parliament is not in session and immediate action is deemed necessary. However, the move has drawn criticism from opposition parties who accuse the government of bypassing parliamentary scrutiny. They argue that frequent reliance on ordinances risks weakening the legislature and normalizing executive lawmaking.
Where the opposition are giving pressure to president, since you in the past also you have held this kind of ordinance, why you are not holding it when it comes to the constitutional the Appointment Act? So it is right, the opposition may be right on that, but wrong things cannot justify repeating the same mistake in future as a rule.
The government, however, maintains that the ordinances are part of a broader reform push aimed at streamlining governance, curbing political appointments, and addressing inefficiencies in key sectors.
केही क्षेत्रमा कानुनको अभाव वा अस्पष्टता भएका कारण काम अगाडि बढाउन कठिन भइरहेको थियो। त्यस्ता कानुनी अवरोधहरू हटाएर तुरुन्त निर्णय गर्न कानुन आवश्यक थियो र हामीले अध्यादेश लिएर आयौं। सामान्य प्रक्रियाबाट संसदमा गएर विधेयक पारित गर्न एकदम फास्ट ट्र्याकमा काम गर्दाखेरि पनि कम्तीमा 3-4 महिना लाग्न सक्छ। त्यसकारण सरकारले द्रुत गतिमा प्रभावकारी रूपमा काम गर्न अध्यादेश सिफारिस गरेको।
A key flashpoint has emerged over a proposed amendment related to the Constitutional Council.
The President cannot hold any ordinance if it has been recommended by the Cabinet, means Council of Ministers. Maybe the bill can be held by the President, not the ordinance. Bill and ordinance is different. Bill is passed by the Parliament. Ordinance is recommended by the Council of Ministers. So, in case of ordinance, the President is under obligation under the Constitution of Nepal to promulgate or to issue that ordinance without any delay or without any questions.
While the government has pushed it as a part of its reform agenda, President Paudel has opted instead to consult constitutional experts. Defending the move, Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, Sobita Gautam, said ordinances are a constitutional tool to address urgent governance needs.
अहिलेको सरकारसँग संसदमा बहुमत छ, लगभग 2/3 नै छ। त्यसैले कुनै कुरा लुकाएर वा पर्दा पछाडि बसेर योजना बनाएर खुसुक्क गरिरहनु पर्ने अवस्था छैन। संसद मार्फत कानुन पारित गर्न सक्ने क्षमता यो सरकारसँग पर्याप्त मात्रामा छ। यो सरकार द्रुत गतिमा काम गर्न चाहन्छ।
She added that while laws are typically passed through Parliament, delays in the legislative process can hinder effective governance. Senior advocate Gandhi Pandit said that while the majority government has the capacity to pass laws through Parliament, it may still resort to ordinances to expedite decisions.
Sometimes a situation arises where Parliament is not there, but the government has to act immediately. And since the law is some kind of barrier, in order to overcome that barrier, they are allowed to bring ordinance. And after issuing the ordinance, which will have an effect of the law, then they can work what is needed for the need of the people. So this is a very normal, nothing abnormal or something against the constitution.
The coming days will be crucial in determining whether these ordinances move forward, face legal challenges, or trigger a wider debate.
For further insight into this subject, we are joined virtually by constitutional law expert and professor at Kathmandu University School of Law, Bipin Adhikari, for an in-depth interview here. So what, in your opinion, seems to be the aim of these ordinances?
These ordinances are basically meant to clean up the political mess in the administrative apparatus of the government as well as many other public institutions. So the government is very clear that they want all controversial political appointments done in the past to be washed up.
So in constitutional terms, does the President possess the authority to delay or refuse an ordinance recommended by the Council of Ministers?
Not really. We have a system of constitutional presidency. So the President of the country is supposed to act on the aid and advice of the Prime Minister. And that aid and advice is absolute requirement. So there are very limited instances in the constitutions where the President can act independently. For instance, in the case of formation of government, coalition government, when a specific political party has no majority in the parliament. But in most of the cases, the advice that comes through the Prime Minister is the advice that the President has to act on. Obviously, in the cases of ordinances, also, the President has to oblige the Prime Minister every time there is a request for the ordinance.
So there has been mixed reaction on this topic. Does the issuance of multiple ordinances in rapid succession risk undermining Parliament's primary role in legislative process?
That is very important question because the job of lawmaking is the job of Parliament, and obviously ordinances are only exceptional arrangement and supposed to be acted on only in situations where ordinances become absolutely necessary to meet the contingency situation. But here, when you have many ordinances, especially very comprehensive ordinances that deal with many institutions, many provisions, many people, and without proper deliberation in the Parliament, obviously that has an impact on the quality of legislation and also on the deliberative process of democracy. The remarks are therefore that we see on the paper on the wall have a very solid reason. The government has to make sure that ordinances do not become the everyday reality in the country, and there must be a full stop to it, and it should be acted on only in situation where there is absolute necessity for it. Otherwise, the Parliament should be relied on for lawmaking, and the government lawmaking of this sort should be minimized to a reasonable extent.
Mr. Adhikari, some has appreciated this move while some has criticized. What are the pros and cons of this move of the government?
The government, I understand that it wants to reform the environment in the country, especially the political mess, and it has a very strong logic, and it's not doing things all of a sudden, because the political manifesto on the basis of which it contested the election has been, approved by the people by almost 2/3 majority. It has certainly the political standing to deal with all these issues which have been accepted by the people, and also giving a lot of perspectives on alternatives. So the current move seems to be a little abrupt.
Lastly, from a constitutional standpoint, Mr. Adhikari, is it appropriate to amend laws concerning the Constitutional Council through an ordinance rather than through full parliamentary debate and scrutiny?
That's very true. It should have been done in the parliament itself through a process of deliberation. Now that the way Constitution has provided for the Constitutional Council is very clear. It does not want a majoritarian decision-making system there. The system to be applied is unanimous, obviously according to the principle of separation of power. The appointment power is the power of the Prime Minister. This is an executive power. The Prime Minister needs to have control.
So what would be your suggestion regarding to this move of the government?
I think the government, I think it has a very strong, popular support, and it has to slow down itself and do things after discussion in the parliament, so that whatever is done is something that's absolutely necessary for the country, and the government also does not lose the political support that it has acquired among the people. So the due process of law is very important, as well as the parliament has to be relied on for everything that has to come, the political support for change, and that change must be accomplished through a very slow but steady process. The challenges beforehand are enormous, and I believe that the government has, not taken it that seriously.
Thank you for your time and insight, sir.
Thank you so much.
Authorities have intensified the Kathmandu Valley's drive to remove illegal structures encroaching on public land in coordination with the Ministry of Urban Development Nepal, the District Administration Office Kathmandu and Kathmandu Metropolitan City. Demolition operations recently targeted unauthorized structures in the Anamnagar-Devinagar stretch along the Dhobikhola corridor, where a 7-story building was partially dismantled. Clearance efforts are also ongoing along the Bisnumati River in Balaju Machapokri and Tilganga, with additional operations expanded to Kapan areas including Satale, Pathibhara and Tenjing Chok. Displaced families have been removed to temporary holding centers in Kirtipur, Balaju and Bhaktapur, where authorities are identifying and processing landless squatters for further management. Nepal's authorities have stepped up their campaign to remove encroachments from riverbanks and public land across the Kathmandu Valley, including Balaju, Swayambhu, Anamnagar and Dhobikhola corridor. The eviction drive has been met with resistance from locals who are demanding proper rehabilitation and objecting to removal without alternative resettlement arrangements. Here's the story.
The government has intensified its campaign to remove encroachments from riverbanks and public land across the capital. Local administration and security personnel deployed in areas including Balaju, Swayambhu, Anamnagar and the Dhobikhola corridor began demolishing unauthorized houses and temporary shelters. These demolitions have met with resistance from local residents. During the operation, some locals obstructed the work, expressing opposition to the government's move. They argued that no eviction should take place without providing proper alternatives and rehabilitation, saying the action could leave them homeless.
हामीले दिन्न भनेको हैन सरकारलाई चाहियो घरिमा हामीले दिनी हो हामीलाई हाम्रो व्यवस्था पनि त गर्नु पर्यो कहाँ गर्नु भएको छ त हामी त रोडमा बसेका छौं कोही केही गरे हैनन् व्यवस्था मुखले यो मिडियामा मात्र व्यवस्था गरेछ भने अब हामीले यत्रो 20-30 सालबाट कमाएको सम्पत्ति सबै त्यही हाल्यौं.
Some residents also claimed ownership of the land, stating that they possess land ownership certificates. They have insisted that their entire life savings and investments are tied to these properties and that they have no alternative place to relocate. Meanwhile, security authorities and the administration stated that they are currently collecting names to identify genuine squatters. They added that those registered will be provided temporary accommodation at Dasrat Stadium until a final decision is made regarding their status. The government plans to expand the campaign nationwide. While the initiative aims to protect public land, locals have urged authorities to quickly identify genuine squatters and formulate a long-term resettlement plan to address the issue effectively.
The Nepal government has intensified its drive to clear encroachments along river banks and public land in Kathmandu Valley, demolishing over 900 illegal structures in the second phase of its operation. More than 114 individuals from 323 families have been temporarily relocated in Kharipati, Bhaktapur as authorities aim to provide safer, more organized housing for displaced squatters.
After clearing squatter settlements in Thapathali and Dam Manohara in the first phase, the government of Nepal has now extended its operation to Balkhu, Sangkhamul and Bansighat in the second phase, with the drive currently focused on the Swayambhu area. Demolition work was briefly halted after 10 to 12 households claimed they have land ownership certificates. However, following an investigation by an 8-member inspection team deployed under the direction of a Chief District Officer of Kathmandu, Ishwar Raj Paudel, the drive has resumed again.
वास्तविक पीडित हो भने सरकारको सम्पर्कमा आउनुस्, नक्कलीदेखि सावधान रहनुस् र उहाँहरु नक्कली हो भने सूचना छ भने हामीलाई पनि दिनुस्, सहयोग गर्नुस्.
Many of those squatters relocated to Kharipati in Bhaktapur say they believe the government is taking steps to move genuine squatters to safer and more organized locations.
राम्रै भयो 11 बजे व्यवस्था सुत्ने बस्ने खाना पनि ठिकै राम्रै छ अहिलेसम्म त राम्रै छ आज पनि भखरै खाएर आएर बसे हो
अरु त मैले के भन्ने एकदम खुसी छु म त एकदम राम्रो लागिरहेछ बस्नलाई खानलाई एकदम ठिकै छ त्यस्तो नराम्रो छैन यस्तो आपतको बेलामा यदि भयो राम भयो खाना पिना बस्न हामीलाई स्वर्ग छ यहाँ राम्रो गर्दिनु भएको छ.
Officials say 114 individuals from 323 families from the Swayambhu and Balaji have been temporarily sheltered at the Nepal Electricity Authority's training center in Kharipati, Bhaktapur. So far, a total of 401 houses and huts in Balkhu, 193 in Bansighat and 150 concrete houses in Sangkhamul have been demolished. Meanwhile, stakeholders reiterate the government is moving ahead with a long-term urban management plan aimed at clearing encroachments along major river corridors, including the Manohara, Bagmati, Dhobikhola and Bishnumati rivers.
That's all from the perspective for this week's edition. We will be back next week with major updates. Stay tuned to NTV World.
intermittent playing hide and seek with the folk, enchanting one's heart with the sight of fully bloomed rhododendrons, and rejoicing in the lap of nature with the chirping of the birds. When you set foot in Sandakpur, you experience a wonderful feeling of heavenly bliss right here on earth. Due to the ever-changing weather and the snow-white mountains visible right in front of your eyes, Sandakpur constantly draws everyone's heart towards it. As a habitat for numerous species of birds and endangered wildlife, Sandakpur always leaves an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of all. Situated at an altitude of 3,636 meters above the sea level, Sandakpur is located at Ward 2 and 4 of Sandakpur Rural Municipality in Nepal's eastern Ilam district. Embracing the mountains of Nepal, India and Bhutan, Sandakpur is the only place in South Asia where one can observe the Himalayas of all three countries. While enjoying the Himalayan settlements, one can observe the sunrise and sunset from Sandakpur. It is the only place in Nepal from where over 60 mountain peaks, including the Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, Makalu, Pathivara and Kumbhakarna can be seen from one spot. Being the source of the holy Mai River, one of the 4 major rivers in Ilam, Sandakpur is also revered from a religious standpoint, attracting pilgrims from Sandakpur Ridge. The settlements of Ilam, Jhapa and West Bengal of India seem so close that it feels like you could hold them in the palm of your hand. The crimson glow of the sun rising from the Bay of Bengal in the morning, glittering upon the mountains. The joy of witnessing this form such a height is majestic. That is why in winter for the snow and during the monsoon for the rain, the number of visitors from both home and abroad to Sandakpur is on the rise. Among the different species of rhododendrons found in Nepal, 36 can be spotted just along the Sandakpur trek. The rhododendrons blooming all over the forest captivate every heart. With the chirping of birds, the cliffside honeybees, and the opportunity to study endangered species like the red panda, vultures, while enjoying nature, Sandakpur journey has captivated trekkers from around the world. Every year, more than 150,000 tourists from India, Bhutan, Bangladesh and Europe visit Sandakpur. Known as the Bird's Eye Place, Sandakpur was declared a one province, one cultural village by Nepal government in 2018. However, the place still awaits infrastructures like drinking water, electricity and proper trekking trails. Sandakpur can be reached after a 42-kilometer ride from the Ilam headquarters via Mai Pokhari and Kalu Pokhari. Another route to Sandakpur is from Ilam Bazar via Biblate, Sulubung, Mabu and Kalu Pokhari. When trekking to Sandakpur, the highest point of the Mahabharata range, the joy of staying in the homestays and hotels along the way while savoring local cuisine is immeasurable. While forging a connection with the Himalayan settlements, enjoying herbs and local produce, and playing in the snow in winter and the rain during the monsoon, you must visit Sandakpur at least once in your life. Hello, welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief on NTV World. I'm Devendra Subedi. In this episode, we try to explore a young Nepali artist's journey from Kathmandu to the global stage. A journey from scribbling pictures in canvas to becoming the first contemporary Nepali artist to be included in the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, United States, in itself is fascinating. We will try to explore art, its forms, the artist herself, her life and work, and that is no less than an example for all the budding artists. Let's welcome Sneha Shrestha, aka Imagine.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Let's start with this Imagine thing.
Sure.
Can you explain what this Imagine exactly is?
Sure. I mean, when I was first introduced to art as a young adult after graduating from college, I was really introduced to graffiti. And a lot of times graffiti artists have sort of what is called a street name. And when my mentor at that time asked me to choose a name, you know, I really didn't have an idea. But then I thought of what was closest to my heart. And I automatically thought of my mom. And my mom's name is Kalpana. And so when you translate Kalpana into English, it means imagination.
Is that what you're wearing right now?
Yes, actually. Yeah. This says Kalpana, and, you know, it's my way of keeping my mom close to my heart. And every time I sign my name, I get to write her name.
You were influenced by graffiti, as you said, and now sculpture also you are pursuing, and you are mural painter as well. You have followed different forms, the art, right? The name itself, this name that you have chosen, doesn't sound graffitish like, but closer to your roots, your families. Was that something worked on or thought about?
Yeah, I wanted to choose something that felt like me. I didn't want, and I also needed like a shorter name, so like Imagine instead of Imagination made sense. And really my family and where I come from is really what roots me into my work. And so it made sense.
I'm really excited to have you here in our studios in Kathmandu. We caught you as you were here in Kathmandu for some project work, as you said. What is art exactly, Sneha? How should we define art? I know it's a very abstract term. This could have multiple understanding and interpretations, but how would you, as a performing artist, define art?
Well, as a visual artist, I would define art as self-expression. It's a way of sharing how I see the world.
Just that much?
Yeah.
What about the feelings?
I mean that includes everything, right? Like how I see the world, how I'm feeling about it, how I want people to see what I'm seeing. I think it's a powerful form of self-expression.
Art is something you are interested in or you like. When was the first memories of drawing something? When was it?
I think my first memory was watching my mom translate these English children's books into Nepali children's books. It was a time where there weren't a lot of Nepali children's books, right? So I remember, you know, the story of the ant and the grasshopper. I remember it was, you know, my mom was translating these books. She would write them in Nepali, and then she would draw them into like large books. She was a teacher. She was a teacher, and so she would take that to her. She was my Nepali teacher, actually, and so she would take it to the classroom and teach us in Nepali, but she would make it exciting, right? If you think about the books, even till now, textbooks and maybe texts on newspapers kind of look similar. Right? But then the way she would draw these pictures larger than life and the letters, you know, like much larger so that kids can read it. I think that was my like really, you know, first memory of like being fascinated by what colors can do, what these like broken pieces of color pencils can do on paper. But I mean, I've loved art and painting really all my life. So I think it was just a matter of, you know, will I do
When
this?
would I just discover it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a thing where I was like, I want to be an artist.
Was there somebody who saw the brighter side of your painting and told you that you should be doing this when you were a child?
That's a good question. I think I found myself getting drawn to painting all the time. It's just something that I loved doing, regardless of whether I had an art class or not. I just found myself doing it all the time. Even when I went to college, I had my, I majored in globalization studies. But in addition to that, I would find myself sneaking in art classes and making time for that. And so I just knew that that's something that felt like me, and I was just gravitated by it.
Any specific elements that that you draw inspiration in your present day, let's say, art, Nepali culture, something that is rooted in something that is pretty Nepali-like?
Yeah, I think everything about my work is kind of rooted into where I come from, how I grew up in Kathmandu, my household, what my mom and dad showed me that is part of my, our tradition and culture as Newari people. I think it is hard to represent a whole country, being given that our country is so diverse. We speak more than 100 languages just inside Nepal, so it's impossible for me to represent the whole of Nepal. But what I realize is that I can tell the story of how I grew up, and hopefully other people can resonate with that. It really came from the need of expressing myself in terms of who I am. Because usually, I think even till this day when you're in the US, people are like, okay, you're from Nepal, oh, Mount Everest. That's about it, right? Yeah. And so how do I explain that I don't live anywhere close to Mount Everest? No, I haven't climbed it. Yes, I've seen it, but that doesn't tell my whole story. Yeah. That doesn't tell your story. It doesn't tell my story, right? So I think it came from a struggle of saying, how do I tell people who I am? Where do I even start? I think that struggle became real over time. And I think art really helped me talk about, this is, how my mom does things at home. These are the colors that I was surrounded by growing up. These are temple, shapes of like different temples that is part of our, everyday architecture in Kathmandu. When you're walking around, there's a temple here, there's a temple there. There's so much fabric, like celebratory fabric around. And I think that's what I wanted to share. Because your identity isn't just one thing, it's all these things you're surrounded by, you grew up with. So I think that's where it really came from.
Tell me something about your fascination for that particular script.
Sure.
Because that connects to what you said just now. I'm fed up answering the question that I'm not somewhere near from Mount Everest. But you translated your art, you brought that into your art, expressing your culture somewhere there, very close to that. Is it your answer to that question by adopting that Devanagari in your art?
Sure, it feels closer to answering the question that I've ever gotten to, because Nepali letters are, I can confidently tell someone that these are Nepali letters. It's based in the Devanagari script. Devanagari script is used to write Nepali and Sanskrit and Hindi, and Sanskrit is one of the oldest written forms of languages in the world. And the fact that we can write Devanagari so casually, like a kid can write in Devanagari, like Nepali so casually, it's really a point of cultural pride for me to look at my native letters and be like, look, this is so important. So much of history is based on this. So much of written history is based on this. This is really something special, guys. Like, look at this. So getting to say that and being excited about it really got me started.
Everybody is an artist somewhere in the heart, they say, but until somebody recognizes it. Do you remember when was your first work of art? Somebody said that, yes, this is awesome. You should make more and more of it. Do you remember when was that moment?
That's such a good question. I'm smiling. I'm like smiling because there really wasn't that one time, it really took time to realize that this is something I want to do. This is something that I can make happen. It took a very long time. It wasn't like, going to school here and everything. I hadn't even met a real living artist in my life when I was in school. I hadn't been to a gallery, right? So all of that came later in my life. So it wasn't one moment. It was a series of moments that I looked back on and connected the dots. And I think that's what I continue to do, is connect the dots in terms of, okay, this makes sense. This feels good. Let's move forward with it. So I would say it was a series.
You got family support when you wanted to pursue this as a career?
I think it creeped up so slowly that it wasn't a turning point. It was like, you know, I was taking my, you know, whatever I was trying to do at that time along with my artwork. And so it built up over time. So there was no turning point in that, you know, hey, I'm going to do this sort of. But there was, I would say there was one moment after I finished my master's where I spoke to my family and I was like, hey, just give me 1 year where I just want to try this. I feel like I've done everything. I'm confident that I can find a job if this doesn't work out. You just give me 1 year. I just want to try it out. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And it's been 8 years since, so I'm not sure what to say.
You went to the US to pursue your bachelor's degree. Still, you're not aware that you're going to be an artist?
No.
Were you?
No. It wasn't, you know, a lot of people ask me, like, is it a dream come true? And literally, it wasn't even in my dream. It wasn't in my vocabulary that it was something that I could do. Being born and raised here, it wasn't a career path that someone was like, hey, this is a possibility. I think, you know, it happened over time as well. So, like, bachelor's degree is 4 years in the US. I think it was like 3.5 years in, my professor told me, you know, you've taken enough art classes to be an art major. We know you're a globalization studies major, but do you also want to add this? You just need one more class. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. Sure. You know, that's how I became an art major. It wasn't like I want to be an artist and I should, you know. And I think even after graduation, I wasn't working as an artist. I was working at an arts nonprofit at that time, but I wasn't working as an artist. And I think it was over time that it happened.
As a student, how were you? You were a bright student, weren't you?
Good question. A lot of people, I think it's an interesting question to ask because I didn't consider myself a bright student when I was up till high school. I was in the same school from like 3rd grade till, you know, 12th grade. I wasn't considered a good student. I was considered like a troublemaker. I was always told I was like a bad kid and, you know, that my ideas weren't valid ever. And I always used to have this question, like, why can't I answer it this way? Because this seems like a right answer too. Like, I was always curious, you know. I think the first time I really enjoyed learning and I felt like I wanted to do my homework and wanted to read was when I took this anthropology class in college. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. This is what it feels like to enjoy learning. And I guess that's the point where I started wanting to be a good student. I think before that, it felt like a necessity that was placed on me, as most students might feel. But at that point, I was like, wow, I really am looking forward to doing my homework. I want to read this book so that I know, you know, what's going on in class and stuff like that. So it's a complicated question, to say the least.
Why I asked you this, because you studied at Harvard's in full scholarship.
Correct.
A dull student wouldn't do that. Or a dull student like me would not be able to do that, would I?
I think it's the definition of like what's a good student, right? Is a good student, you know, saying yes to everything? Is a good student following the instructions exactly like you've given them? Is a good student not asking any questions and just nodding your head in agreement? Or is a good student a critical thinker who will ask you questions back because they're curious? Because I'm that kind of student and I feel like I'm a student of life. I continue learning. So in terms of that, I am a student. But I'm not sure if a good student is like a...
Inquisitiveness in you led you to this career. If I say that, would I be wrong?
No, I think you'd be so right. I think it was that curiosity of like, what if? You know, what if I gave myself 1 year to try this out? And not being scared to kind of take that step and being okay with the fact that it could not work out, and that's okay. But if it works out, that's great too. So being okay with the unknown is such an important thing to have, I think.
Would you say there's no harm in being bad by asking questions or being inquisitive? Follow your passion? Would you say that, or would you say be a good student, do your homework, listen to your parents and teachers? Which one would you suggest?
I would say both. I would say if you're smart, you have to be part of the paradigm too that the school system is set on. Yes, you do need to get good grades. You do need to be a good student. At the same time, also be yourself. If that means being curious and asking questions, then do that. So I think it's not just as simple as like follow your passion.
My next question, Sneha, being a Nepali, abroad for studies, following your passion, was it difficult initially?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult when you follow your passion, especially when it's something that no one has done before in your vicinity at least. I think that's why it took me a long time to come to it. I think if someone was like, hey, you're really good at art, you should think about being an artist and this is what you need to do to be an artist. If someone told me that, I think I would have been in a different place now, but I think it was a lot of trial and error to figure out what I want to do. And I think it's important to do that at the same time because that's sort of part of finding yourself, right? And once you do, there's really, you kind of feel invincible in a way that you feel like this is me. And there's no doubt about it.
Tell us something about mural painting. How is it different from other forms of painting or art, let's say? What exactly is mural painting?
Sure. So my background has been in graffiti, and graffiti is it's an art form based on letters. And, it started in New York City by young people at a rebellion. And so they would paint really large pieces of like their name on trains, on walls. And so that's really what got me started. I was really interested in painting. Now murals are, graffiti pieces can be murals. Graffiti is mostly like letters. It's a very big emphasis on looking at letters as images. Murals are large paintings on walls. I think in terms of aesthetics, it really depends on the viewers, like who is viewing it. I think that's the beauty of art, that it's subjective, right? It's like something that I love might not be something that you love, and that's okay. Yeah. So a graffiti piece can be part of a mural. Mural is basically a really large work of art on like buildings and walls, and that's really large. So the aesthetics can really depend on the artist. It can be anything really. It can be a portrait. It can be someone's name really large. Yeah.
Allow me to ask this question. Is art emotion, expression, or devotion?
I think it's all of the above. I think it's so much of trying to express yourself in the most authentic way you know how. And I think without devotion, that is not possible because it takes so much to come to understanding who you are, and then even more to understand what you want to say, especially when you're given a platform. So I think I would say it's all of the above.
Any special reason for choosing the first alphabet?
Sure. So when I started realizing that I wanted to use Devanagari script to create my paintings, there was this sense of empowerment that I had. I was like, wow, this makes so much sense. It's amazing. And then, I used to try writing different words. But then when the pandemic hit, that was a difficult time for everybody, right? So, I wasn't painting outside. I was just in my apartment, and I came back to painting in a way where I was, I just wanted to feel sane. I just wanted to feel the comfort of maybe home. I was missing home so much. At that time, obviously it wasn't a good time to come back home. So I was really turning to painting to find that comfort. And I was really thinking about, what is the essence of home? If I can't, is it just a physical space? And if it's not, then what is the essence of home? And one of the sort of like things that I thought about was home is like the same comfort that you have when you can run up the stairs of your home, even when the lights are out. During load shedding, every Nepali kid, you can go up and down your stairs.
They could do that because they know it.
Exactly. That's home, right? That's the comfort of home. That's the familiarity of home. And I wanted to capture that essence. And then I could only write ka. I found myself writing ka over and over again, just like a meditation. And then over time, I was just obsessed with, how I want to write it. And then after that, I was like, okay, now I want to write it the exact same way. Like, I'm pretty sure you can write ka with your eyes closed. Why? Because it's the first letter that we learned how to write. And it's the same as the comfort of home. So when I figured that out, I was like, yes, I just want to write this for now. And that's where, you know, the repetition of like the letter Ka began. So.
What satisfies you the most? The price that your work fetches? The comment from critics? Or the relief that you feel after expressing yourself out?
That's a good question. I think it's the reason why I chose this job is because this is that one job for me that lets me be myself 100% real and be myself 100% in the most authentic way I know how. So if in a project I'm able to express myself 100% like that, that is what makes me really happy and satisfied. And yeah, and I think it's a powerful thing to be able to be yourself 100% of the time, every single day. And then over time, you also learn to be okay with yourself. So I would say, yeah, I think authenticity, my voice is what's most important to me, which is why I do what I do. So I would say that's what would make me more...
What is the best compliment you have received from somebody who loves art after having seen your work?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I think it depends on who says it. I think what jumps in my mind right now is when, like in Boston or even here in Kathmandu, when I meet young people and they say, you know, I could really see what you're trying to do, what you're trying to show. Or like in Boston, there might be Nepali families who come and show, like parents, they show their kids, like, you know, this is what it is and this is what she's trying to do and I'm not even around. I think that's the biggest compliment for me.
Let's go to mural painting again. Can you just walk us through the process from the concept, designing, and up to the wall? Can you just walk us through the process? How does it go?
Sure. So a big part of the mural, of creating a mural, especially a really large one, is the collaboration element of it. For example, my 6-story tall mural on the MIT building, that took a lot of collaboration. Even before the painting process began, we have to work with the city, permits, the local business district people, and then local stakeholders, people in the neighborhood. I think that's the part that's invisible. That's the part that takes most time. Can we paint this wall? Is this wall stable to be able to be painted?
Once you're done with all the, let's say, legals and those sort of formalities, now it's time to conceptualize your vision on the field. How long does it take? Your MIT, let's say, mural we're talking about.
Yeah, I started by like taking photos of the wall, and then I also spend a lot of time in front of the wall to see how people walk around it. I want to see how people experience the wall, what the wall looks like at sunset, at sunrise, because my work is going to be there and I want it to have a good home. I want it to make sense. So it's a big part of it is understanding the environment that I'm in. And then I start, taking pictures, and then I'll print them, and then I'll sketch on the building, and then start the process.
Sneha is the first Nepali artist whose work has been acquired by 2 world-famous fine art museums. How does it feel, Sneha, to have that heavy cap over your head?
It's pretty exciting. I think it's, the Museum of Fine Arts, the painting that was acquired, it's in their permanent collection, and to think that it's going to be there long after I'm gone for other Nepali people and people of various cultures to be able to see, I think that's a really powerful thing for me to realize. I think it's wonderful to be able to see a contemporary Nepali voice. I think it takes away from the mysticism, the stereotypical kind of box that Nepali people and Nepali culture is usually put into, especially in Western museums. We're seen as this culture of like ancient, of like past, but the truth is we're a living tradition, we're a living culture. We're people who practice all these things till this day. We're not just people of the past. I think it's important to leave behind such stories in important institutions like museums, and the other one is at the Harvard Art Museums. It's a sculpture that they acquired, and it's going to be on long-term view, and it's in their collection as well.
Fine art museums like Boston or Harvard, they are acquiring pieces from artists from Asia as well. Are they becoming more and more open to the international artists as well, or would, if I say that, I'd be just undermining your creative talent?
I think the world is globalizing, has globalized over time, right? And the US is a melting pot of various cultures. I do think there's a realization that there needs to be a representation for all these cultures that make up the country. And so it's an important time to be part of that conversation.
So you were the first to be from this country. Now, does that inspire you to work harder and you know, what's next am I going to do sort of thing? Does that give you more inspiration or make you more desperate?
It encourages me. It gives me a signal that I'm doing something right, and it feels right. And people from various parts of Nepal that I meet in Boston and other parts of the US, I feel encouraged by them when they see it. I think people who visited Nepal and are not necessarily Nepali see Nepal in my work, and that's a point of pride. It just gives me a green signal that I'm doing something right. And I'm motivated to keep going.
How does it feel to be the cultural ambassador of the country in the melting pot?
Around
the world you're traveling now. How does it feel?
That's a huge phrase to take on.
You are, Sneha. You are the first artist from this country to be represented there. Not just represented, but acquired by those institutions. So that does give you the tag of being our cultural ambassador abroad.
I feel like it's important to carry on the work that I'm doing. I think it's important to share to younger people what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, so that maybe the younger generation can do it even better than I am doing it, and I hope that they do. I think it's so important to carry my people wherever I go, however the best I can. At the end of the day, I'm just one person, so hopefully there's more people who get the opportunity to do the same and represent, you know, their part of their Nepali life.
This is Declassified, and we are talking with Sneha Shrestha, contemporary Nepali mural artist, sculpture, graffiti-based artist, and a fusion artist. In the next part of the conversation, now we talk about the best works of Sneha. Which of the works that you have done so far is closest to your heart? I would be definitely not doing justice to you by asking this question. I know you are the creator. Everything is very, very dear to you. But still, if you have to pick one,
sure,
which one would you pick?
I mean, my mentor has always told me you're only as good as your last piece. And so I would love to talk about, you know, my most recent show at the Institute of Contemporary Art. These are pictures from the Institute of Contemporary Art where I'm currently exhibiting my work. It's part of the Foster Prize show. The Foster Prize is one of the most prestigious art prizes in Boston, and it's something that I've been eyeing for the past 6 years, and I've really wanted that prize really badly. And you know, you can't apply for it, you have to get selected for it. And when you get selected, you get to have the show at the Institute of Contemporary Art, and it's for Boston artists. And so to be selected for that felt incredible. And when something I wanted came to fruition, it was like, okay, it's time to do what you felt ready to do for a long time, is have sort of like this first solo museum show, and you get to show a big body of work.
How are you expressing yourself in these two pieces?
Sure, so these two pieces are part of that show at the Institute of Contemporary Art, the ICA in Boston. These two pieces are my first art-shaped paintings. These are 7 feet each, and they contribute to the architectural feel of the space. In this, you see fractals of the Devanagari script. So they're not necessarily words, but if you looked at the alphabet really zoomed in really close, that's what you would see, in my opinion.
I can see Ka on the blue side of the canvas.
Yes. So like, you know, I call it like the shadow part. So if you think of an arch, that's sort of like the shadow part of the painting. That's where you see the repetition of Ka. And I brought the Ka there because my first painting acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts, that painting is a repetition of Ka over and over again.
Let's move on to the next one.
So this is the painting that was acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, and it so happened that when my mom was visiting me, it was on view, and so I got to take her there and, you know, show it, and her, you know, reaction just...
This must be very close to you. Ka there, your mother, Kalpana there, and you are the Imagine there. So this is a masterpiece, I would say.
This was a special moment for sure, and this was a painting I actually created in 2020 during that time that I told you about during the pandemic, you know. And the curator, Laura Weinstein at the MFA, recognized that, and she chose this as the painting to be acquired.
Probably this is the largest piece you have of mural you have painted?
It's not the largest, but it is the tallest. It's about 60 feet tall, so like 6 stories. And it's in the heart of Cambridge, and it's at the confluence of various neighborhoods. You know, MIT is right there, so a lot of students get to see it. A lot of Nepali students at MIT have shown me you know, that they're there and like tagged me on it, which is super cool. Yeah.
You just do it all alone, right? Or you just need some helping hand to finish this piece?
No, I wish I could get a helping hand, but because it's my handwriting on the wall, I do it all myself.
So all alone, apart
Correct.
from the machinery that has been used, it's all you who has done it?
Yes, and I operate the machine as well. So the articulating boom lift that you see me here, I operate it myself. And my photographer was on the other end of it taking this photo.
Okay, this is how it looks once it's done.
Yeah, so for scale, you can see like tiny people on the bottom.
So it's a really huge mural. Tell me something about this one. This I can clearly see car, your very dear car there. Tell me something. Where is it?
I think this is in Michigan. This was the moment where I really was dedicated to the letter Ka, and I felt confident enough to paint it so large and be able to tell people, you know, this is the first letter of the Nepali alphabet, and this is what it means to me. And so I feel like this moment was that moment where I felt like I've arrived. You know, I'm so confident in telling people about this language that they know nothing about. But I felt, you know, that I could.
Tell us something about this one, Sneha.
Sure. So this is a sculpture. It's called Dwarpalika. This is the sculpture that was acquired by the Harvard Art Museums. It's currently on view. We actually just installed it before I left. And, you know, my parents were able to see it. And this is, you see the repetition of Ka. It's made out of brass and powder-coated steel. And yeah, it's sort of suspended from the ceiling, and it kind of has this aura about her. I call her because there's that energy that she has, and there's a environment that's like built around her because of the shadows that are laid on the floor. So it's a really special piece for me.
When the creator like you hand your piece of work to museums like this, how does it feel? Like shedding your skin or something like that?
It feels emotional because I remember the day that I packed this. You know, it takes a long time for acquisitions, for museum acquisitions to happen. And so when I recognized that it was the last day that I packed her up and dropped her off at this storage facility. It's like, you don't drop it off at the museum. So storage facility, and I just said, the next time I see her, she's going to be installed. And I definitely had a tear in my eye, and I was just like, wow, it feels like such a moment to kind of take in. And it's bittersweet for sure, because you work towards something for so long, and then it's going to be at this really important place for a very long time. It's definitely an important moment.
Sneha, let's talk about this one. This looks really, really large.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty large mural. It's in East Boston. It's by the water. Mm-hmm. So you can see it from the other shore of Boston. And it was this really special piece that I got to do, and I wanted to make sure that I did 3 circular shapes, because 3 is such a sacred number with everything that we do in our rituals and pujas and everything. And so I really wanted to talk about that. And it is... yeah, it's one of my largest works.
Fantastic. We're so much fascinating these works, Sneha.
Thank you.
Please allow me to do this, okay? Pick one of these pictures. Of all these pictures we have done and your sculptures we have displayed here, if you had to, okay? You can't escape this.
Okay.
Pick one only.
Okay. I think I would pick the Cambridge one. The Cambridge mural that you saw, the really tall one, because that tested me in different ways. That it's kind of like building a muscle, right? You're tested and there's pain, and then you grow stronger from it. I think it's one of those pieces. That's why it's so close to my heart. And also, you know, so many people have kind of, at this point, the mural kind of belongs to the city. It's not my work anymore. So many people attach their stories. So many people have gotten married in front of the mural, like take their wedding photos.
You must be a special guest in those ceremonies.
No, but I get sent these photos. You know, young Nepali students at MIT take selfies in front of it. I mean, it's really part of the city's DNA at this point. And so I'm really honored to have that work there.
Fantastic. The works of Sneha Shrestha, aka Imagine, some of her works. These are just some of the works that she has produced. There are so many things. She's working globally, working with multinational projects where she's working not only in the US but around the world. Now, last part of our conversation, Sneha, you are an inspiration to the youth. What message do you have for them? All those who want to pursue their passion and build a career out of it, or let's say pursue their passion only.
Sure, I would say take time to figure out what you want to do. It might not be as soon as you graduate high school. It might not be as soon as you finish your bachelor's degree. It's a process. I would say look at it as a process and make sure that you find joy in the process. And there's no really this end place that you get to that you'll find happiness in. I would say if you're happy in the process, then you're really closer to finding yourself. Figure out what is the most authentic version of you and kind of use that as a compass to pursue whatever you're pursuing. So the message here isn't go out and be an artist. The message is, you know, find out who you are and what you love doing. And that might not be your job immediately, but just finding something that you love doing is such an important part of being. So, yeah.
What message would you like to give to other youngsters who are looking up to you as inspiration?
I would say it's okay to be different. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to ask questions. And it's so important to have mentors. I think those are the things that I would love to share with younger people.
What is life, Sneha?
Life? I think it's a process. I think it's like this fun process that you get to like try different things out in. And yeah, I think that's what life is.
Striking a balance in life, how important it is.
I think it's so important to balance out. I think it's important, first of all, to find a compass of what guides you. For me, what guides me is my happiness, and that could mean in different ways. That means being able to see my parents as often as I want. That means being a good friend. That means building communities in both of my homes, in Kathmandu and in Boston. These are things that really kind of make my life, and kind of make things clear, like what are important to me, and that's my community, that's my friends and my family. And I think once you have that compass, everything kind of starts falling into place.
Last question to you, Sneha. Your career goals and your personal goals.
Sure. I think this sounds so, I'm not trying to boast it, but I think I'm living it as, you know, like career and personal goals. As an artist, it kind of melds into one thing. And I want to take both of them side by side. So if my career helps me express myself even better, that's amazing. Things that I might say no to, that might be, you know, for my personal life. And I think balancing those things is quite important. But both of that is still me. So I got to take both of them in a balanced way. So, yeah. Okay, so I have something that I brought for you. It's a sticker, and it has the first letter, Ka, on it. And it's something that I do for everybody that I meet. I give them a sticker. And the background for that is really, you know, when graffiti writers meet each other, we exchange stickers. Street artists, murals, we exchange stickers. And I really like to do that and sticker something, you know, playful and a little bit of joy. So, yeah.
My privilege,
Sneha.
Sneha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful conversation with a Nepali contemporary artist who is definitely a world-class artist, Sneha Shrestha, whose name in itself is Imagine, that correlates to her roots, her mother. Thank you so much for watching this show, and definitely do follow us on our website, our social media handles. Until next time, from me and my entire crew of Declassified, bye-bye.
Nepal has numerous places and monuments of historical, archaeological, religious, cultural, and natural significance. Among them, one is Bodhanath Stupa that lies in the northeast of Kathmandu. This world-famous stupa is the property of ancient arts and culture. It is also the property of Buddhist civilization. This region, spread in about 7,630 square meter area, is about 7 kilometers far from Kathmandu Darbar Square. It is about 100 feet in radius and has a height of about 141.8 feet. Its date of construction is not yet exactly ascertained. However, some theories based on some myths, chronology, and some written scriptures of Guru Padmasambhava are popular. The stupa, which is the largest stupa in the world, is believed to be constructed with the remains of Kashyapa Buddha in it. This stupa, also considered as the symbol of Trikal Buddha's heart, harbors thousands of devotees and visitors every day. Furthermore, with the enlistment of the stupa in the UNESCO's World Heritage List, its fame has skyrocketed. Despite the fact that majority of residents around the stupa are from Tamang community, there are also people from other communities like Newar, Sherpa, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Tibetans, and so on. This very feature symbolizes unity and diversity. The history of Bodhanath Stupa. The history of its construction is still mysterious. However, different myths, chronicles regarding its establishment are popular. As per the scripture of Guru Padmasambhava, Bodhanath is called Jarung Khashor in Tibetan language. According to a myth, an angel named Purnima Gangchungma was born in earth as a punishment for stealing flour in heaven. She was born in a place in Nepal as Jajima, a daughter of poultry farmer. Later, when she grew up, she got married to a horse trader. After the birth of a son, the horse trader died. She then got married to a pig trader. After the birth of a son, the pig trader too died. Then after, she married a dog trader. He too died after the birth of a son. Finally, she got married to a poultry farmer. He too died after the birth of a son. The mother of 4 sons then got involved in poultry farm and amassed a bigger fortune. After her sons got married, she still had a bigger chunk of wealth, and she decided to devote herself in religious rites. Then a thought of establishing a stupa was emerged in her mind. She then pleaded the king to allot some land to make the stupa. The king responded to her demand positively. However, a widow willing to perform a larger kind of pious work was intolerable to the wealthy people of that community. They then went to the king, pleading him to stop the project. Since the king had already promised her, he denied going as per their request. Due to this reason, the word Kashwar was added to the name, which means slipped promise. And finally, it became Jarong Kashwar. In Tibetan language, Ja means a year of the bird. The construction was said to be initiated and ended in the same year of bird after 12 years. So it is believed to be called Jarong Kashwar. Jajima died 4 years after the start of the project. Then her 4 sons continued the project. Due to their pious work, those 4 sons are reincarnated as Holy King Trisong Duchen, great Buddhist preacher Shanta Rakshit, Guru Padmasambhava, and religious minister Bami Thisar in Tibet, and had worked for the establishment of Buddhism according to a myth. According to a belief, Bodhanath Stupa was constructed in around 5th century. It is said that the stupa was discovered in the era of Lichavi king Shivadev. Some Buddhists believe that, like Swayambhunath, Bodhanath was also self-created. According to a chronicle written by Daniel Wright, the stupa was constructed by King Manadeva I, which was started in 464 AD and completed in 505 AD. It was later destroyed by Mughal king and later reconstructed. It is coated with thousands of grams of gold. Water is filled in the stupa's pond in every 12 years. And in every 12 years, there's a carnival to observe the Bodhanath pond. During the carnival, thousands of Buddhist devotees, either local or foreign, visit the spot to see the pond and take the water out from the pond. It is believed that whosoever sees the pond and drink water from it will have his or her illness remedied, and healthy people will gain immunity to fight against the diseases. A Chinese lama is appointed by the Guti Sansthan that belongs to the government of Nepal, whereas the Ministry of Culture and Tourism has established Bodhanath Area Development Committee that looks after Bodhanath and performs all the necessary renovations of the stupa. This stupa is based on the practice of Mahayana Buddhism. It is also taken as the symbol of Chintamani. As per the Buddhist model of construction, bricks, mud, stones, wood, copper, and gold were used to construct the stupa. It has 5 layers of construction, which are considered as the 5 elements of nature that are needed for the creation. The upper portion of the stupa from the ground level is considered as the earth. The core above it is considered water. 13 bhuvan symbolizes fire, Chatravali symbolizes air, and the topmost dome indicates the sky. There's a ring road that encircles the stupa. Buddhists encircle the shrine chanting Om Mani Padme Hum. It is believed that chanting the mantra will free oneself from all miseries and will finally achieve salvations from the heaven, hell, earth, and other places. There are 6 such places in total according to Buddhism. Different statues of Bodhisattva are placed in different parts of the stupa. Mantras are written in each statue. There are 108 different parts in the stupa, and a statue of different gods and goddesses rests in each part. There are 108 total statues placed on those parts. Its dome is considered as the symbol of the universe. The 2 eyes in each direction is called Harmika. Harmika indicates the 4 noble truths and 8 rightfold paths. These peaceful and thoughtful eyes also symbolize knowledge and measures to rid from evil. It is believed that the gaze of the eyes will rid oneself from sex, anger, greed, attachment, jealousy, gluttony, and pain, and will take the mind to bliss, non-violence, and positivity. The question mark-like symbol below the eyes symbolizes nirvana, and the dot symbolizes wisdom. There are 13 more stories above the Harmika. These 13 stories indicate the 13 places after life that Bodhisattva crosses. After the 13th story lies a gold-plated copper lotus. The flower symbolizes softness, purity, kindness. Then after lies Chatravali's, which is considered as a protector of the stupa. The top part of the stupa is considered as the symbol of Sumeru mountain, which indicates greatness. It is believed that after reaching the peak, one is supposed to attain nirvana, shunyata. Buddhist devotees pray to the shrine, seeking welfare not just for themselves, but for the entire living creatures. Nepal signed the World Heritage Conservation Treaty to renovate of different cultural and religious heritages with the aid of UNESCO in 1978. By 1979, 7 places inside the Kathmandu Valley were listed in the World Heritage List. One of those 7 heritages is Bodhanath. Different festivals and jatras are celebrated in Bodhanath every year. Among them, one is Mamla Jatra. It is also called Azim Jatra. There is no authentic documentation regarding the origin of this jatra, yet oral tradition says it had begun in the 8th century after Guru Rinpoche Azim was established as the protector of this area.
यो जात्रा चाहिँ विशेष गरेर ममको स्मरणमा ममको सम्झनामा मनाउने गरिन्छ।
Likewise, a day before Chaitra Purnima, Temal Jatra is observed. This Jatra is celebrated especially by Tamang community. During this Jatra, Tamangs from Kathmandu and neighboring districts visit the place and ignite lights in the loving memory of their deceased relatives. There's a tradition of giving alms and donations after the completion of puja. They also sing Tamang Selo and dance with the song. Vaisakh Purnima celebrates Buddha Jayanti. This is the day on which Lord Buddha was born, got enlightenment, and received Mahaparinirvana. There is a special puja on this day for the same reason. In the like manner, people perform plantation of paddy as the festival during the month of July-August. This Jatra is a part and parcel of Buddhist identity. People light lights in the memory of their deceased relatives on this Jatra as well. On Mangsir and Paush, October, November and December, January, people celebrate the Dasami Cheju Puja related to Guru Rinpoche. Losar, which is New Year, is also celebrated in a grand way. Special carnival is observed here during Sonam Losar. Similarly, after death of a Buddhist in the area, the deceased body is taken around the mortal remains is taken around the shrine and then cremated. It is believed that taking the body around the shrine will free the deceased person from all the worldly and afterlife sufferings. These festivals and celebrations are no doubt a continuation of Buddhist culture, but are equally useful in preserving the Buddhist culture as well as for the promotion of tourism. This World Heritage Site has religious, historical and cultural significance. It is our responsibility to promote this holy place as a beautiful tourist destination for the visitors from all over the world and work for the preservation of it as well.
Israeli airstrikes and drone attacks on southern Lebanon from Tuesday night to Wednesday morning killed 3 people and injured several others, according to Lebanese official media, in a serious breach of the ceasefire that took effect on April 16. 2 people were killed and another injured in an airstrike on the town of Deir Kifa in the Bin Jebel district, while a separate strike claimed 1 more life in the town of Archid in the Nabatea district. An Israeli drone also struck paramedics from the Islamic Health Organization in Deir Kifa at dawn, injuring 3 medics who were rushed to local hospitals as overnight raids caused heavy damage to Boers Kalawaya Public School in Brachid and Kalawaya. In response, Hezbollah announced retaliatory attacks against Israeli forces, including artillery fire on military vehicles in the Wadi al-Jamal area and a drone strike on Israeli troops gathered at the Al-Salah Hill in the town of Kantara. The renewed violence raises serious concerns over the durability of the ceasefire agreement, with clashes on both sides threatening to reignite a broader conflict along the Israeli-Lebanese border. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi held high-level talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing on Wednesday, focusing on bilateral relations and the latest regional developments amid escalating tensions in the Middle East. The Beijing visit is part of a broader diplomatic push by Tehran following a 3-nation tour that took Araghchi to Pakistan, Oman, and Russia, where he met with President Vladimir Putin, who pledged Moscow's full support in facilitating a peace settlement in the Middle East. In Pakistan, Araghchi reviewed conditions under which Iran-US negotiations could continue, describing the Islamabad consultations as very productive, while discussions in Oman centered on maritime security and safe passage through the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Araghchi described the trip to Beijing as part of Tehran's ongoing diplomatic consultations with global partners, with talks expected to cover both bilateral ties and broader regional stability. The flurry of diplomatic engagements reflects Iran's efforts to consolidate regional and international support amid a sharpening power struggle with the United States over vital waterways and regional influence. China's foreign ministry says that Foreign Minister Wang Yi called for an end to hostilities in the Middle East and for the United States and Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz during talks with its Iranian counterpart. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian at a press conference said China believes that a complete cessation of hostilities is imperative, restarting the conflict is even more unacceptable, and persisting in negotiations is particularly important.
中方主张，海湾和中东国家应当把命运掌握在自己手里，鼓励伊朗和更多的海湾国家开展对话，实现睦邻友好，支持由地区国家建立共同参与、维护共同利益、实现共同发展的地区和平与安全架构。
Ukraine has released footage purportedly showing its domestically produced Flamingo ground-launched cruise missile striking targets inside Russia as part of an overnight deep strike operation, according to images shared on President Volodymyr Zelensky's social media channels on May 5. The Flamingo missile is claimed to have a range of 3,000 kilometers, approximately 1,900 miles, marking a significant addition to Ukraine's long-range strike arsenal. Kiev has intensified its retaliatory deep strikes in recent weeks, hitting a series of Russian oil facilities and a luxury high-rise building in Moscow in the lead-up to Russia's annual May 9 Victory Day celebrations. The strikes signal Ukraine's growing capability and willingness to carry the fight deeper into Russian territory as the war enters a critical phase. And international media has stated it cannot independently verify the location, date, contents, or authenticity of the released images. At least 8 people were killed and dozens more wounded after a massive blaze tore through a commercial complex in the city of Endesay, west of Tehran, on Tuesday. State media confirmed the casualties as emergency and rescue teams were deployed to the scene. Images from the site show the scale of destruction left behind by the deadly inferno. The fire swept through the commercial complex, leaving a trail of devastation in the western outskirts of the Iranian capital. Authorities have yet to officially announce the cause of the blaze, as investigations are expected to get underway. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has rallied supporters ahead of the May 7 nationwide local elections, vowing that his government will not lose focus on bringing down the cost of living despite conflicts and instability rocking global markets. Speaking at a hustings in South London, Starmer pledged that the Labour government would continue to invest in renewable energy initiatives to help ease the impact of energy price fluctuations on British households.
Ask most people what matters to them most, and they will say the cost of living. And that is what we absolutely have to focus on. And that's why I'm so proud that that was the centrepiece of our budget last year and the focus of all of our actions, because we must always have in our mind's eye the people most affected by our decisions when we're taking our decisions. That mistake, we will be not heading back for the status quo. We will be heading upwards to say we need to take more decisions on our economy to make sure it works for working people across the country. More decisions on energy so that the bills of households across the country are not impacted every single time there's an international effect or conflict. And that means we must go absolutely faster in relation to renewables. Take back control of our bills, because that's the only way we can protect people.
North Korea has deleted all references to uniting with South Korea from its constitution, underscoring Pyongyang's push for a more hostile policy towards Seoul. The revised constitution, introduced in March and shared at a South Korea's Unification Ministry news conference, also includes a new clause delineating North Korea's territory, stating it borders China and Russia to the north and the Republic of Korea to the south. The development follows North Korean leader Kim Jong-un labeling Seoul as the most hostile state in a policy address in March, with Pyongyang conducting 4 missile tests in April alone. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung has called for unconditional talks with the North, but Pyongyang has repeatedly ignored Seoul's overtures and continued to label the South its most hostile adversary. North Korea has also drawn closer to Russia, sending troops and artillery shells to support Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, as Kim vows to further expand his nuclear forces. 3 people are dead and at least 7 cases, 2 confirmed and 5 suspected, have been identified aboard the MV Hondius, a Dutch-flagged cruise ship now docked off the coast of Cape Verde, after a hantavirus outbreak was reported to the World Health Organization on May 2. The WHO has warned that some human-to-human transmission may have occurred among passengers, particularly among close contacts sharing cabins. Experts believe the initial cases were linked to travel in Argentina before passengers boarded the ship, as the Andes virus, found in Argentina and Chile, is the only known hantavirus strain capable of limited human-to-human transmission. A political row has also emerged over whether the ship will be allowed to dock in Spain's Canary Islands, with the regional leader opposing its entry despite the Spanish government signaling it would permit docking in Tenerife. The WHO currently assesses the risk to the global population as low, while investigations, case isolation, medical evacuations, and international coordination efforts remain ongoing. The United Nations has called on Israel to immediately release 2 activists seized from a Gaza-bound flotilla vessel that set off from Europe to break Israel's blockade of the war-ravaged Palestinian territory. The UN also demanded a full investigation into disturbing accounts that the detained activists are being severely mistreated in Israeli custody. The flotilla have been carrying humanitarian aid destined for Gaza, where a devastating conflict has left the population in dire need of supplies. Israel's interception of the vessel has drawn sharp international condemnation, reigniting debate over the legality and humanitarian consequences of its blockade of Gaza. The UN's intervention signals growing global pressure on Israel to account for its treatment of humanitarian activists operating in the region. Nearly 2 million Somali children are facing severe malnutrition as 3 consecutive droughts, drastic US aid cuts, and decades of near-constant civil war have pushed the African nation to a breaking point, according to UN local coordinator George Conway. Hundreds of thousands of Somalis are now facing life and death situations, with the crisis compounded further by a growing global economic downturn resulting from the ongoing war in the Middle East. Conway warned that the convergence of these factors has created a perfect storm, dramatically reducing the number of people that aid organizations are able to reach and serve. The drastic reduction in U.S. foreign aid has dealt a severe blow to humanitarian operations on the ground, stripping away a critical lifeline for millions of vulnerable Somalis. The UN has sounded the alarm that without urgent international intervention, the scale of human suffering in Somalia is set to worsen significantly in the months ahead. Afghans who had sought better opportunities in Iran are being forced to return to their home country as the regional war drives would-be opportunity seekers back across the border. Iran has long served as a major draw for Afghans fleeing a devastating humanitarian crisis at home, offering both employment prospects and a transit route to destinations further afield. However, the escalating regional conflict has upended those plans, sending waves of Afghans back to a country already struggling under immense economic and humanitarian pressure. The returning migrants now face a double burden, having lost their livelihoods abroad while returning to Afghanistan that remains gripped by poverty, instability, and a deepening humanitarian crisis. The images of Afghans streaming back across the border paint a stark picture of how the widening regional war is reshaping the lives and movements of some of the world's most vulnerable people. Mourners lit candles outside Instituto São José, a junior high school in northwestern Brazil, after a teenage shooter killed 2 staff members and injured 2 others in a deadly attack. A 13-year-old boy was arrested by police in connection with the shooting, according to a statement from the government of Acre State. The attack sent shockwaves through the local community, prompting an outpouring of grief as residents gathered outside the school to pay tribute to the victims. The shooting adds to a troubling pattern of school violence that has rattled Brazil in recent years, reigniting urgent calls for greater security measures at educational institutions. Authorities are continuing their investigation into the circumstances that led the young suspect to carry out the deadly attack. At least 26 people have been killed and 61 others injured after a massive explosion tore through the Liuyang Huasheng fireworks manufacturing and display company in Liuyang, Hunan province, central China, according to officials. The blast, which occurred on Monday afternoon, left the factory site completely destroyed, with images showing the scale of the devastation as the injured received treatment in hospital. State broadcaster CCTV reported the explosion and confirmed the rising casualty figures as rescue and recovery operations continued at the site. In the immediate aftermath, authorities ordered all fireworks manufacturers in Changsha, the provincial capital that administers Liuyang, to halt production pending thorough safety inspections. The deadly blast has raised serious concerns over safety standards at fireworks manufacturing facilities across Hunan province and beyond. Legendary British rock band The Rolling Stones have announced they will release a new album titled Foreign Tongues on July 10, the band revealed on May 5. Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Ronnie Wood made the announcement at the Wailing event venue in Brooklyn, New York, where they were joined by TV host Conan O'Brien. The appearance by the iconic rockers in New York generated significant excitement among fans, marking a major moment for one of rock music's most enduring acts. Foreign Tongues will be the band's latest studio offering, adding to a legendary discography that has spanned more than 6 decades. The announcement has sent anticipation soaring among fans worldwide, eager to hear the next chapter from one of the greatest rock bands in the history.
Tekosi and Trisuli river rafting. Rafting has lately been gaining popularity among tourists. The adventure sport, which previously was popular only among foreigners, is now drawing the local tourists as well. Trisuli and Votekosi rivers that are close to Kathmandu are two popular destinations for rafting in Bagmati province. Let us first explore Votekosi. Whitewater rafting at Votekosi river is included among the 10 best adventure destinations for rafting in the world. Votekosi, which is well facilitated with food and accommodation, can be a great destination for rafting and other adventure sports. Rafting at Trisuli River is popular among domestic tourists, as the location can be reached in an hour from Kathmandu. This is where most tourists go for rafting in Nepal. Rafting packages of Votekosi and Trisuli are appropriate for those who want to spend some good time for a few days.
It's very amazing feeling because as Mr. Kiran Manandar is one of, I would love to say he is a global artist because he do have his studio. He used to have his studio in Paris and different places as well. And we are really lucky to have his studio here in Kathmandu Art House as well. And we have his studio upstairs where he come and create the things like create the paintings. And with his paintings, we feel very inspired and energetic. His painting is mostly spiritual and energetic too, as he take his painting as the part of his life and also a spiritual value to his painting.
It's my first time in Nepal. I've been seeing cultural sites around the city, and I'm extremely pleased that I came to visit this museum because this art is really amazing, and it's really beautiful to see sort of this modern expression of some of the historical cultural themes, and also like just some very human global themes as well. And I think the artist is just really incredible, and the art that I'm seeing here is really beautiful, and I'm very, very pleased, very happy.
So how did you feel to meet the real artist here?
It was really incredible. I feel so lucky that I came here today when the artist was here. It was beautiful to meet him. He's so friendly and warm. Yeah. Learning about the space was also really interesting. I hadn't known the history of this location. I think it's a great place for an art museum.
Oh, they feel very nice looking at the artworks because since we have here Kathmandu Art House, when people come in, when they see the different category of the artists and all, and especially Mr. Kiran Manandar's work, they feel very like overwhelmed, not only the overwhelmed, but they feel very good about how Nepali art is like that, because they get, most of the time they get surprised, I must say that, because they haven't actually seen the artwork of Nepali artists in that deeper level. But since Mr. Kiran Manandar is famous all over the place. So yeah, he is also the pioneer of the abstract art here in Nepal. So he has actually, and he is also the first chancellor of NAFA, which has actually created like new, the step in the Nepali art field, in Nepali art society, and he has contributed a lot here. So while we talk with the guest as well, they get very inspired from his work with the colors, that the flow of colors, the brush strokes that he have, and also the spiritual value when we talk about the artist and also his painting to artists. They feel it's actually a true modern Nepali art, where there is actually the touch of traditional spirituality and also a modern touch.
My primary interest for people coming to Nepal like me, if I had a color problem, I would have gone to a small or big trekking earlier, looking at those small streams, the originality of those colors. And I would look at these old broken palaces or houses, these bamboos. Now, like I learned a lot in Balazo, and this color is still dyed with kaya. This original color is not ours, right? Now for us, for example, when I went to work in a museum in Japan earlier, I would take red soil, black soil, because that is new now, that pottery even now. Sometimes when I paint on canvas, I remember my grandmother, because at that time, painting with red soil was our own energy, and no insects would be attracted to it. Therefore, to use our own, we have to go to the village, house, place, everywhere. We have to take it anywhere. Even now, I tell you that after crossing Balazo Pass, the air and water there will be different. That scent of the forest will come, and therefore, we are not without it either. To develop this, such museums are needed. Artists who include everyone like this are needed. Now it is very good. I would say that even now, the time is such that foreign artists should come to Nepal to learn. There is a scent of art here now. We were scared by the lakhe. My maternal uncle sent us. My maternal uncle is from West Nuwakot. And so the lakhe had come. I asked why, and he said it was to roam around so high. And it looked red, and it was strong like you and me. And that's why, with that imagination, I had never met him. I used to play the instrument when I was a child, but in that imagination, scary and then walking. Our current Newari custom is that if some boys walk around a lot, they are said to be likely lucky. It came out of that imagination.
Kiran Manandar sir is a very fascinating person. I first met him in 2021. So in that time and till today, I kind of got a sense of his spiritual aspect a lot. Even though his artworks are abstract, you can identify each element. So in Kiran Manandar's paintings, even though it is an abstract art, each of us can identify ourselves. For example, in feminine beauty, we can identify a beautiful woman. In divine love, we can identify divine aspects of love. For example, Radha Krishna, Shiva Parvati, Vishnu and Lakshmi even. And in his spiritual series, for example, Shunya and Atma, we can identify the meditative aspect and the metaphysical aspect where we can achieve through divine interventions. And his artworks are mostly based on these spiritual factors also. And you can identify other materials. For example, he uses not only pen and ink, he uses materials like different clothes, which is written in Ranjana script. So there is Namo Tassa Bhagavato written in Ranjana script, and with that you can also see Kiran Mananda written in the same script. So that is basically his traditional route taking over in his abstract forms. And you can also identify the malas that you use in ritualistic activities, in pujas, and you can also see that aspects put together in the painting, and also the prayer flags of Buddha, the 5 Buddhas prayer flags. So all these materials are used by Kiran Manandar, and because of that we can say that he's a very spiritual person. And in his catalog I have dissected and categorized these themes, thematical order, in his painting. So I started with nature because he loves nature, and I remember him giving an example of a tree. So from afar we can only see a tree, but if you look closer and you can see the branches, the leaves, the fruits, the roots and everything. So his paintings are also layered like that, the colors and bold strokes, like it's a palette knife that he uses, and that has a lot of strokes, lines, and even though it looks harsh when we look at it, but you can then deepen your thoughts and process, and you can see the color combinations and the beauty of the chaos that he creates in his paintings.
हामीले जति लोभ गर्यो त्यो चीजबाट सिर्जना कहिले पनि हुँदैन, हामीले त्याग्नै पर्छ.
Whatever we covet, creation never comes from that. We have to give it up. Therefore, I feel that we are born to live and give up, not to live forever. So, in this painting, there are these pieces of cloth attached to the paper. When I was strong, I used to go to Swayambhu. Then monkeys would throw down these flags. Initially, I made a lot of paintings using their flags. Because they were being thrown away, I brought them home, cleaned them, and gave them a complete form. Then where to keep them? I call the canvas my bank, so I keep it there. No one would take what was on the ground. But after putting it here, people covet it. They buy it. In this way, everything is to be given up. Even when painting and applying colors, it's the same. It's not meant to be kept forever, but to be given up. What is there to take? Therefore, the most important thing is whether you are painting or doing any other work. You should do it with a pure heart and then leave it behind. Nothing is to be taken away.
मुनाको चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ काम भनेको चाहिँ किरण दाई जस्तै चाहिँ आर्टिस्टहरुको चाहिँ
Muna's work involves organizing exhibition for artists like Kiran Dai to show their work to Nepalese and the rest of the world. Because there are artists like Nepalese in the world, we are no less than any other country, at least in the field of art.
Main reason why I opened the Museum of Nepali Art, which is Mona in short form, is to platform living Nepali artist. That this is actually the first private museum in Nepal. And even after 1,000 years, but as long as there is humanity, as long as there is Nepal, as long as there is Nepal and art, we will be part of Kirandai. We need to ask questions. We need to ask questions to ourselves, not to anybody else. And that is the main purpose of art. And that is what I am trying to bring it out through my museum, through my passion, to the people, so that we can better understand ourselves, we can better appreciate our community, we can better appreciate our nation, and we can better appreciate the world that we live in.
Annapurna Circuit Trek features in world's 10 best destinations and adventures. The trekking circuit is the choice of many trekkers as it offers both adventure along with mesmerizing view of mountain ranges. Arguably the best trekking circuit in the world, travelers get up close with dozens of mountains including the Annapurna, Dhaulagiri, Nilgiri. Annapurna Circuit ideally is a 14-day trek. The circuit passes through Lamjung, Manang, Mustang and Myagdi district, including Thorangla Pass as the highest point. Places including Thampus, Ghandruk and Poon Hill are part of this trekking circuit. The revered Muktinath shrine is also part of the circuit. Only foreigners were seen in this circuit few years back, but now domestic tourists are also flocking the area. If you are looking for a lifetime trekking experience, then pack your bags for Annapurna trekking circuit. Mardi Base Camp Trek, also part of the Annapurna circuit, is another alternative route for trekkers who can't afford time. Trekkers can be up close with mountains including the Annapurna range, Dhaulagiri, Machapuchre and Manasalu in this circuit. This 7-day circuit is attracting many trekkers for obvious reasons.
Actually, when I was 16, back in 2015, I was at a music festival. This music is called bluegrass that I play, and I was at this bluegrass festival, and this person named Tara Linhart. She is amazing. You can talk to her more, but she had a fantastic project called the Mountain Music Project. And I heard this project of Nepali musicians and bluegrass musicians coming together and fusing the music. And I thought it was really, really cool to see this cross-cultural collaboration. But I really just wanted to get back to music. And so I reached out to Tara. I had an opportunity to get some funding. And I emailed her randomly. She was in Bhutan at the time. And I said, hey, I want to set up a music project in Nepal. Can you connect me with some of your buddies? And she got on a WhatsApp call and started giving me the lowdown of how awesome it was. One of the people she introduced me to was actually Prince's father, Sham Nepali. And we met in New Hampshire. And we jammed together and had a great time. And he said, oh, when you get to Nepal, you have to meet my son. He's so great. He'll play music. You'll play music together. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Like, every dad is going to say that about their son. Like, is it going to be great? Well, then 3 months later, I showed up in Nepal, and I had only brought a mandolin, and I wanted a guitar to write some songs on. So I called up Shamdai, and I said, hey, can I borrow a guitar? He said, yes, come meet my son. And so I met Prince in Kirtipur, and we started playing that day. And then we sat down and we started playing, and it was just like magic. It was just sort of this instant connection. That was pretty special and crazy to me that we grew up on opposite sides of the world, and there are American musicians who I don't vibe with. We don't have a connection, but me and Prince, it was just an instant connection. And so we started jamming together.
It's a love song that my great-grandfather composed, and we're gonna fuse with another bluegrass love song. सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी चश्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्र कोर्ने चश्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्र कोर्ने दारी जुङ्गा दन्त देखाइ मेरो मन चोर्ने दारी जुङ्गा दन्त देखाइ मेरो मन चोर्ने नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय शिवर काकी छोरीलाई नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय शिवर काकी छोरीलाई सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी
जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो भइराइदियो जमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो भइराइदियो जमा सानी सानी एझिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल थोरेकी सानी सानी एझिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल थोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल थोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल गोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल
She was living in a lonely cabin with some another man. 5 years she had waited for him as long as a woman can, as long as a woman can. And I don't know what changed my mind, till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. That day to help her till the lands. In the afternoon we planted seeds, in the evening we held hands, in the evening we held hands. And her blue eyes told me everything that a man could want to know. It was then I realized I would never go, I would never go. And I don't know what changed my mind, till then I was a rambling kind of love explain that I had for Nellie Kane. We've grown up tall. I became a father to him, and she became my all. She became my all. And I don't know what changed my mind, till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. No, I don't know what changed my mind, till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane.
Well, first of all, I just fell in love with Nepali culture. I love momos, I love dal bhat, I love it all. I love this beautiful country. I think our message to the world, one of them is that we want to show more people the beautifulness of Nepal. I think that from my perspective, I love Nepali folk music, but in this country, sometimes people haven't valued it. They've looked to the West for other influences. And so one of our goals is to bring up Nepali folk and fusing it. We're not just doing pure folk music, but to show that this is a vibrant, evolving history and tradition that is still relevant today. And then I also think to people abroad, and especially to Nepalis, I want to show them that they can take their instruments and their culture and they can bring it to the world, and that it's so amazing. I mean, everyone who I know maybe they don't know so much about Nepal, maybe the only thing they know is that Mount Everest is there. But then once they try a momo, once they hear some music, then they love it. And so we want to just share this music with more people and share the cross-cultural collaboration. I know I've been saying this for a couple of years now, but because we recorded an EP for one day, and then I've been gone from Nepal for the last year, and the hard drive just sat, and no one did anything with the files yet. So we finally got the files going, and we are finally working on our debut EP that will feature a lot of these songs, including the next one, which is one I wrote a couple of years ago.
Cause all day I chug way after work and try to shove down all of the hurt. But sometimes at the end, does it fit on the page? And my eyes just run a glaze. this whirlwind, is there even a point of it all? 'Cause at the end of the day, just us back in the fray on this rugged, snowy road. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. 'Cause when the night burns cold, it's when I lose my mind. No, I can't bear this endless ticking of time.
Well, right now we really want to go abroad, and in particular, my dream is to bring the band to the U.S., to these festivals that I grew up going to, because I think it's so cool. I love playing the music that I grew up with, but with tabla on it, and the beat is dropping. It's so awesome. But right now we've been having a little bit of trouble figuring out with the visas, especially right now. So we're working on that. And then also being abroad. It's very difficult when I've moved back to the US recently. And so when we're far away, it's hard we can't make music in the same way. But it also means that the times when we are together, I've been back for a month, are just extra special because we get to make music together.
Dai Lake in Karnali province is a geographically remote district, yet rich with untapped potential for tourism. Stepping into Dai Lake, celebrated as a treasure trove of Khas art, culture and heritage, brings a unique sense of joy. Journey begins amid its natural beauty, leading us toward Mahabu Rural Municipality. As we leave the mid-hill highway, the terrain becomes challenging, with hilly, muddy roads demanding patience and skill. Long lines of vehicles crawl carefully along the cliffs, reflecting both the difficulty of the route and the enduring devotion of Mahabu Dham. Many travelers choose to continue on foot, advancing step by step toward their destination. Passing through Channa, Dasarathi, Okharbanz, Bhavsaini, Noli and Unipata, pilgrims ascend the slopes toward Lisne before finally reaching Mahabu Patan. Pilgrims from Dai Lake and nearby districts often arrive late at night, having begun their journey the previous day. The path to Mahabu Dham is thrilling, adventurous and breathtaking, made even more dramatic by the steady rain, drifting fog and steep inclines. Yet the journey itself feels uniquely rewarding. Mahabu Lake or Mahabu Dham, located within Mahabu Rural Municipality, is a remarkable place of natural beauty, religious significance and cultural heritage. Situated at an altitude of 4,200 meters, the area is adorned with emerald lakes, grazing flocks of sheep and goats, and a sky that dances with Himalayan mist. Every year, during Janai Purnima, a grand fair is held here, drawing thousands of devotees from across the region. Mahabu Dham's spiritual importance is deeply rooted in the ancient worship of Lord Shiva, revered here as the origin site. From Mahabu Lake, visitors can enjoy magnificent views of Api and Sai Palhimal, and on clear days, even the plains of Bardia. Given its religious importance and natural splendor, Mahabu Dham holds immense potential as a religious tourism destination. Improving the rough, narrow access roads is essential for supporting this growth. Mahabu Dham is more than a pilgrimage site. It is a confluence of culture, history, faith, and nature. To truly appreciate its significance, one must visit Mahabu Lake at least once, immerse oneself in its natural beauty, and experience the serene environment that leaves a lasting impression.
Constitutional Council meeting called for first time after amendment ordinance, appointment of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court on the agenda. Nepal scraps trade union provisions for civil servants. Government orders audit of vehicles used by former top office bearers. Verification begins for displaced squatters in Kathmandu Valley. Parliamentary committee to conduct field inspection.
Property registration and land services shifted to local governments, mandated to manage staff and infrastructure. 3 evacuated as hantavirus outbreak on cruise ship leaves 3 dead and sparks international alarm. Spain faces political row over ship docking, and players threaten French Open boycott over prize money. Sabalenka and Goff back action as dispute with Roland Garros escalates. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. A meeting of the Constitutional Council has been called to forward the process for the appointment of Chief Justice of Supreme Court. As per the direction of the Prime Minister, who is also the chairperson of the Constitutional Council, the Council Secretariat called a meeting for tomorrow. The meeting is scheduled at 5 p.m. at the office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, Singhadarwar. Recommendation of appointment of Chief Justice is the main agenda of the meeting. Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal, National Assembly Chair Narayan Prasad Dahal, Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Sobita Gautam, Opposition Party Leader in the House of Representatives Bhishmaraj Angdembe and Deputy Speaker Ruby Kumari Thakur have been invited to attend the meeting. The government has taken 2 major administrative decisions aimed at reforming public sector management and improving good governance. The Ministry of Federal Affairs and General Administration has scrapped trade union for civil servants following a new ordinance. All union activities within government offices have been banned, and ministries, departments and other state bodies have been directed to immediately shut down union offices and return state resources used by them. Employees involved in union committees will be reassigned to their official duties. Meanwhile, the Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers has instructed the Home Ministry to submit detailed records of vehicles used by former dignitaries, including former presidents, vice presidents, prime ministers, chief justices, speakers, and National Assembly chairs. The move comes after concerns over the misuse of state facilities and the use of dual benefits, with the government aiming to ensure accountability and control public expenditure. Following the removal of unauthorized settlements along riverbanks in Kathmandu Valley, displaced squatters are now undergoing screening and verification at Dashrath Stadium. Authorities have begun collecting detailed records to identify and manage affected families. So far, over 2,392 households comprising 10,222 individuals have registered their information, according to Bagmati Civilization Integrated Development Committee. Health checkups, food services and national ID registration are also being provided at the site. Kathmandu Metropolitan City is coordinating the overall management, while displaced families have been temporarily relocated to several different sites across the valley. This includes Balaju, New Bus Park, Chobhar, Bode and Khairipati. Meanwhile, Nepal's Parliamentary Committee on Law, Justice and Human Rights has announced it will conduct on-site inspections of the holding centres amid growing public concern over the safety and dignity of the displaced residents. The government has begun transferring land administration services to local levels, ending the long-standing requirement for citizens to visit district land revenue offices. Under the new system, services including land registration, property transfer, partition and mortgages will now be handled by local governments in line with constitutional provisions. The Ministry of Land Management says 215 local levels have already shown readiness, while central offices will provide technical and digital support during the transition. Officials say the move aims to improve access, reduce delays and strengthen decentralized service delivery across the country. 3 passengers have been evacuated from the virus-hit cruise ship MV Honduras as a hantavirus outbreak on board continues to spread across multiple countries. A 56-year-old British doctor, one of those evacuated from the vessel off Cape Verde, is now in stable condition after previously being in critical state. The evacuees include nationals from Britain, Germany and the Netherlands. The ship, which departed Argentina on 1st of April, has recorded at least 3 deaths and several infections linked to the rodent-borne virus. The World Health Organization has warned limited human-to-human transmission may have occurred among close contacts on board. A separate case has been confirmed in Switzerland involving a passenger who traveled on the ship, although authorities there say the overall public risk remains low. Meanwhile, a political dispute is unfolding over whether the vessel should be allowed to dock in Spain's Canary Islands, with regional authorities opposing the plan despite central government backing docking in Tenerife on safety grounds. Health officials across Europe and Africa continue tracing contacts and managing evacuations as investigations into the outbreak remain ongoing. Top tennis players led by world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka have warned of a possible boycott of French Open if prize money is not increased. Coco Gauff also voiced support, intensifying pressure on organizers. Despite a 10% rise, bringing the total prize pool to 61.7 million euros, players say their share remains under 15% of tournament revenue, which they say is far below the 22% they are demanding, in line with ATP and WTA 1000 events. Sabalenka called the situation unfair and suggested a boycott may be the only way to secure change, although she remains hopeful negotiations will lead to a resolution. The dispute highlights ongoing tensions over revenue distribution, with Roland Garros still lagging behind other Grand Slams in player compensation. Now, coming up, the government's new ordinance on Constitutional Council triggers a legal firestorm. Experts warn of a blow to democracy, while the state calls it a fast track to progress. Our issue of the day after this break. Welcome back to News Hour here on NTV World. Time now for issue of the day. The government's ordinance on Constitutional Council has drawn criticism from legal experts who warn it bypasses parliamentary processes and weakens constitutional norms. Government, on the other hand, claims the move is centered in fast-track working action plan and ending politicization and political interferences. With legal advisors, we examine more on this as Sabika Shrestha brings more.
In a move that is already stirring political and legal debate, President Ramchandra Paudel issued an ordinance amending key provisions related to Nepal's Constitutional Council, a body responsible for recommending appointments to top constitutional positions. The ordinance, brought on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers led by Prime Minister Balendra Shah, revises both quorum requirements and decision-making procedures. The government says these ordinances are essential to break long-standing deadlocks that have delayed critical appointments.
केही क्षेत्रमा कानुनको अभाव वा अस्पष्टता भएका कारण काम अगाडि बढाउन कठिन भइरहेको थियो। त्यस्ता कानुनी अवरोधहरू हटाएर तुरुन्त निर्णय गर्न कानुन आवश्यक थियो र हामीले अध्यादेश लिएर आयौं।
Under the new provision, a meeting of the 6-member Constitutional Council can now proceed with the chairperson and at least 3 members present, lowering the earlier threshold that required 5 members, including the chair. This effectively means decisions can be made with just 4 members of the council in attendance. The ordinance also clarifies that decisions can be taken by a majority of those present, including the chairperson, replacing the earlier system that required unanimous decisions in the first meeting and only allowed majority decisions later based on the total number of members. As of May 2026, the council is chaired by Prime Minister Shah and includes Acting Chief Justice Sapna Pradhan Malla, House Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal, National Assembly Chair Narayan Dahal, Opposition Leader Vishmaraj Angdembe, and Deputy Speaker Ruby Kumari Thakur. The government argues that ambiguity in interpreting majority of total members had been a major obstacle, often leading to repeated disputes over quorum and preventing timely decisions. However, the ordinance has not come without resistance.
They cannot say it is time consuming. There is a, our philosopher, Montesquieu has said there is a separation of power. Judiciary is one hand, parliament is another hand, and executive is in another hand. Because the parliament's role is law-making authority, and judiciary's role is law interpreting authority, and executive role is the council of minister role is executing the law. That is why when the law is made by the out of parliament through the ordinance, how can we say this is a democratic system? How can we say this is a lawful and democratic country?
It had initially been returned by Paudel himself after concerns were raised by constitutional experts, particularly over whether such changes dilute the principle of majority decision making. Law experts argue that such changes should go through parliamentary debate rather than being introduced through ordinances.
In the pretext of strengthening the system, you cannot pass the law through the back door. You have to pass the law through the parliament. This is the democratic system. In each and every democratic system, you have to you have to pass the law through the parliament by discussing, by giving chances to the opposition parties, and after listening the opposition party, then you can pass the law through the parliament.
The development now sets the stage for a broader national debate, one that pits the urgency of administrative efficiency against the need to uphold constitutional principles. While the current ordinance is seen as less extreme, critics argue it still does not fully address the concern that decisions should reflect a majority of the full council, not just those present. With legal experts raising concerns and political reactions building, the ordinance could soon face scrutiny, not just in the public atmosphere, but potentially in the courts as well. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Nepali Congress has meanwhile announced it will raise strong objections in Parliament over the government's ordinance on Constitutional Council. Speaking after a parliamentary party meeting in Singhdarbar, party's President Gagan Thapa said the party has serious disagreements with the ordinance and has directed lawmakers to firmly raise the issue in the House.
संविधानको परिधिभित्र रहेर प्रतिपक्षको भूमिका निर्वाह गर्ने पनि हाम्रो काम हो। जहाँ प्रश्न गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ त्यहाँ कांग्रेसले प्रश्न गर्छ, जहाँ खबरदारी गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ त्यहाँ खबरदारी गर्छ, जहाँ विकल्प सुझाउनु पर्ने हुन्छ त्यहाँ हामीले विकल्प सुझाउँछौँ। बहुमतले जहिले कानुन बनाउन सक्छ, तर कस्तो कानुन बनाउने, त्यो कानुनको प्रयोग कसरी गर्ने भन्ने कुरा बडो महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा हो। यसमा सरकारको ख्याल पुगेको छैन, हामीले सम्झाउनुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा हो एउटा।
Thapa added that while the party will not obstruct constitutionally valid government actions, it will strongly oppose any steps it considers unconstitutional. Meanwhile, the government is set to table 8 ordinances during Nepal's upcoming federal parliament budget session, along with several key bills covering major policy areas. These include amendments related to public procurement, anti-money laundering, universities, and public office regulations. The ordinances are expected to be presented alongside other important legislative proposals during the session. The budget session begins on May 11 at 2 p.m. and will focus on policy direction, pre-budget discussions, and the presentation of the national budget for the fiscal year 2083-84. In addition, bills on tourism, cinema, and the establishment of a national forensic science laboratory will also be introduced in Parliament. That wraps up our issue of the day. Nepal government has officially decentralized land administration, moving registration and mortgages from district offices directly to the local level. It's a landmark shift in service delivery aimed at ending bureaucracy. We'll look at what this means for property rights and more. Our cover story after this breather. You're watching NTV World News Hour with me, Sarah Sapsanamarai. Welcome back. Time now for our cover story of the day. The government has officially begun transitioning land administration services directly to local levels, ending the decades-old requirement for the public to visit district land revenue offices. 10 years after the Constitution's promulgation, this shift promises to bring land registration, property division and mortgages right to the doorsteps of the general public. Suveksha Rajak with Pawan Barshashta reports.
For decades, land-related paperwork in Nepal has been synonymous with long queues and bureaucratic hurdles at district offices. But that is about to change. The Ministry of Land Management is finally implementing a constitutional mandate to decentralize land revenue and survey services to local governments. It is a transition 10 years in the making. According to the Ministry of Land Management, cooperatives and poverty alleviation services like land ownership transfers, property partitioning, and bank mortgages will now be handled by local units. This move activates Annex 9 of the Constitution, effectively bringing Singhadarbar to courtyards for land administration. The response has been overwhelming. So far, 215 local levels across the country have expressed their readiness to take over these responsibilities. While the local units are responsible for providing the physical infrastructure and staff, the central land revenue officers will act as mentors, providing essential technical training and digital system support.
पहिलो चरणमा हामीले 30-35 वटा स्थानीय तहसँग चाहिँ समन्वय गर्दैछौं। उहाँहरुबाट चाहिँ नि सेवा सञ्चालन भइसकेपछि हामीले सोचे भन्दा फरकको चुनौती आउँछ कि भन्दा हामीले यो भन्दा पहिले हाम्रो चाहिँ डाटा डिजिटलाइज गरिसकेका थिएनौं, जम्मै कागजमा आधारित डाटा थियो। त्यस्ता अभिलेखहरुलाई चाहिँ हामीले सबै पालिकालाई दिन सक्ने अवस्था थिएन। पछिल्लो समय हामीले ती सबै त्यस्ता दस्तावेज भूमि अभिलेखहरुलाई डिजिटल कम्प्युटरमा डिजिटलाइज गरिराखेका छौं। प्रणाली मार्फतै यो जग्गा प्रशासन सम्बन्धी सेवा सञ्चालन गर्ने गरी व्यवस्था मिलाउनको लागि भनेर अहिलेको हाम्रो तयारी यसै हामी गरिरहेका छौँ।
Kathmandu metropolitan city is leading the charge. 10 wards within the metropolis, including Ward 10, have already signed formal agreements to begin operations. For the residents here, the era of spending days at the district office is nearly its end.
कागजपत्र पुगेको र त्यो जुन यो मालपोतमा चाहिँ नि 11 डिजिटल भएको चाहिँ दर्ता भइसकेको छ। त्यो भइसकेको चाहिँ नि यहाँबाट नामसारी पनि हुन्छ, किनबेच पनि हुन्छ, अब मृतक पछिको नामसारीहरू पनि यो सबै हुन्छ। त्यो डिजिटलमा नआइसकेको चाहिँ नि अहिले पूर्ण रूपमा मालपोत कार्यालयले सबै लाल पूजाहरू चाहिँ डिजिटल गरिसकेका छैन। 11 वटा नम्बरको लिङ्क पाइरहेको छ। त्यो लिङ्क हुनेबित्तिकै यहाँबाट सबै चिजै ओडैबाट हुन्छ।
However, challenges remain. Not all local levels currently possess the high-speed digital infrastructure or the specialized manpower required for complex land records. Experts warn that while the rollout has begun, a nationwide implementation will be faced as municipalities build their digital capacity. As more municipalities sign on, the government hopes this shift will now only save time and money for the public but finally realize the true spirit of decentralization. Suviksha Rajak with Pawan Barsha Shah reporting for NTV World.
And in this context, in today's Public Pulse segment, we asked citizens for their views on the new land service system and its expected impact on service delivery. Let's have a look.
हामीलाई धेरै सुविधा हुन्थ्यो न आउन जानलाई पैसा लाग्थ्यो त्यो आफ्नै गाउँमा आफै जमिन पास हुन्थ्यो राम्रै हुन्थ्यो
यो सेवादारीको लागि एकदम सजिलो सुविधाजनक अनि एकदमै सजिलो र सहज हुने भएको हुनाले यो चाहिँ ठिक गरेको छ जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ।
मालपोतमा सबैको काम हुन्छ भिडभाड हुन्छ काम बढी हुन्छ वडावटा भएपछि कम भिड हुन्छ सुविधा हुन्छ सबैलाई।
3 दिन हो गया हामीलाई लगातार 3 दिन हो गया अहिले भयो अब भयो भोलो भयो यो भिड लाग्दो निको नै भयो वडामा बिया त हम सेक्टर भन्ने त्यो सेक्टर बदल त नै लज नै दिए अब वडामा भयो नि हामीलाई सुविधा हुनु पर्यो सुविधा वडामा सुविधा हुनु पर्यो हामीलाई सब फोन पर्यो के हामीले वडातिर गया पनि निको हुन्छ सबैतिरै लेखा वडामा बिया पनि निको हुन्थ्यो हामी यो जिल्लामा अन्याय बढ्दै थियो।
हामीलाई यहाँ बजार आउन जानु धेरै खर्च आउँछ अब 100 रुपैयाँ 150 रुपैयाँ आउन जानुको भाडा छ 4-5 त्यही बस्ने थियो सुविधा धेरै हुने थियो आफ्नो गाउँमा ठाउँमा त्यही गर्न पाए हामी बोल्न यहाँबाट काम गर्न धेरै सजिलो हुने थियो।
यहाँ आएर अघि त्यो गाडी भाडा लाग्यो भोग लाग्यो खाना खायो त्यो ओडाइमा आफ्नै नमिलेर यो पैसा हाम्रो बचत हुने थियो यहाँ आउने तकलिफ बिहानबाट आएका छौँ अहिलेसम्म यहीँ उभिएर बसेका छौँ।
That was our cover story of the day. On to other news. A task force formed to prepare a discussion paper on constitutional amendments has held consultations with former Attorney General and legal experts. The meeting was convened at the office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers under the coordination of the Prime Minister's political advisor, Asim Shah. During the discussion, former Attorneys General and legal experts shared suggestions on key constitutional issues including the system of governance, electoral system, federal structure, restructuring of the judiciary, the number of constitutional bodies and provisions related to inclusion. The task force is working to prepare a comprehensive framework for possible constitutional amendments based on wider consultations with stakeholders. And Nepal has recorded 41 deaths from disaster-related incidents in the past 20 days, according to National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority. The agency said a total of 868 disaster incidents were reported during the period. It affected 1,109 families and left 204 people injured. Lightning strikes accounted for 12 of the deaths, while fires were the most frequent incidents, with 304 cases reported. In the past 24 hours alone, 4 people were killed and 15 injured in separate disaster events. Officials warned that continued pre-monsoon weather activity and changing conditions are increasing risks urging the public to remain alert. The authority also called on government agencies and communities to strengthen preparedness and response plans ahead of the monsoon season. Chitwan National Park has, in the first 10 months of the current fiscal year, recorded the death of 6 Royal Bengal tigers. The latest death was reported on Monday after a carcass of a male tiger of around 2 years of age was recovered from the park area. The park information officer, Abhinash Thapa Magar, said the dead include 2 male, 3 female, while the gender of the remaining one is yet to be confirmed. Among them, 2 tigers had fought to death, while 1 died of natural causes. 3 died after their rescue. According to latest census, the CNP is home to 128 tigers, while the results of this year's census are yet to be released. Nepal has introduced a new fertilizer distribution framework aimed at improving agricultural productivity and eliminating chronic shortages during planting seasons. The government said the subsidized fertilizer distribution management procedure 2082 will come into effect from August 7, ensuring more efficient and transparent allocation of chemical fertilizers to farmers. Under the new system, 10% of total fertilizer supply will be kept as buffer stock for emergencies and key crop production. Authorities say this will help prevent shortages during peak farming periods. The policy also sets strict timelines for collection: 10 days in Tarai Plains, 15 in hills and 21 in the Himalayan region. This is to reduce delays that previously disrupted distribution. Cooperatives, firms and companies will be authorized as distributors required to allocate fertilizer fairly based on farmer identification and maintain digital records of all transactions. Violations, including overpricing, will result in cancellation of licenses and legal action. Officials say the reforms are designed to reduce inequality, improve oversight, and ensure timely access to fertilizers for farmers across the country. Child marriage, once a common practice among school-age girls in Nisti rural municipality of Palpa, has been steadily declining in recent years. Local authorities say coordinated efforts with community stakeholders have played a key role in this progress. Rojina Rai, with our local correspondent Kamal Adhikari from Palpa, brings the report.
Nisti rural municipality in Palpa district of Western Nepal has made significant progress in controlling child marriage in recent years. This municipality is predominantly inhabited by the Magar community, where child marriage among school-going children was once a common practice. However, over the past 3 years, early child marriage has steadily declined due to the collective efforts of the local government, community members, and other stakeholders. Remarkably, the number of child marriages has dropped dramatically from 276 cases in 2017 and Bikram Sambat to just 7 at current time.
पहिलेको बाल विवाहको अवस्था भन्दा अहिले 70% चाहिँ सुधार भएर भनेको त्यो किसिमले चाहिँ घट्दो क्रममा बाल विवाहको अवस्था छ। यसरी हाम्रो निस्ती गाउँपालिकामा चाहिँ यो बाल मैत्री स्थानीय शासन कार्यान्वयन भए पश्चात चाहिँ बाल विवाहमा र अथवा बाल बालिकासँग सम्बन्धित विभिन्न सुधारका चाहिँ अवस्थाहरू देखेको पाइन्छ।
Goal of becoming a child-friendly municipality, Nisti has been actively conducting awareness programs since 2023 at both the community and school levels. The chairperson of the rural municipality, Mukta Bahadur Saru, stated that there are plans to declare the municipality child marriage-free and child-friendly by 2026. These initiatives include children's affairs, wall magazines, songs, dances, and street dramas aimed at raising awareness.
हामीले चाहिँ यहाँ आज मिनी बाल मेलाको चाहिँ अवसरमा चाहिँ यहाँ सडक नाटक कथा कविताहरू चाहिँ प्रदर्शन गरिरहेका छौं र हामीले हाम्रो गाउँ समुदायमा चाहिँ सिकाइरहेका छौं। यस्ता क्रियाकलापहरूले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ समाजमा एकदमै राम्रो प्रभाव ल्याइरहेको छ।
Also, the municipality has prioritized the campaign against child marriage and has been implementing various programs over the past 4 years. Rosina Rai with Kamal Adhikari from Palpa reporting for NTV World.
International news coming up next. For now, a recap of the top stories this hour. Constitutional Council meeting called first time after amendment ordinance, appointment of Chief Justice on the agenda. Nepal scraps trade union provisions for civil servants. Government orders audit of vehicles used by former top office bearers. Verification begins for displaced squatters in Kathmandu Valley. Parliamentary committee to conduct field inspection. Property registration and land services shifted to local governments, mandated to manage staff and infrastructure. 3 evacuated as hantavirus outbreak on cruise ship leaves 3 dead and sparks international alarm. Spain faces political row over ship docking. And players threaten French Open boycott over prize money. Sabalenka and Goff back action as peace dispute with Roland Garros escalates. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned military strikes on Iran could restart if a peace agreement is not reached, while also indicating that the conflict may still end through a negotiated deal. Trump said that if no agreement is reached, military action would resume at a higher level of intensity. His statement comes shortly after U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the offensive phase of the Iran conflict is over, suggesting a shift in the U.S. position. Meanwhile, Trump announced a pause in the U.S. operation known as Project Freedom, which had been helping guide stranded ships through the Strait of Hormuz during rising regional tensions. Iran's state media described the move was a retreat by Washington, while Iranian authorities have not yet officially responded to the pause or to reports suggesting a possible deal to end the war may be close. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi held high-level talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing, focusing on bilateral relations and the latest regional developments amid escalating tensions in West Asia. The Beijing visit is part of a broader diplomatic push by Tehran, following a 3-nation tour that took Araghchi to Pakistan, Oman and Russia, where he met with President Vladimir Putin, who pledged Moscow's full support in facilitating a peace settlement in the Middle East. In Pakistan, Araghchi reviewed conditions under which Iran-US negotiations could continue, describing the Islamabad consultations as very productive. Discussions in Oman centered on maritime security and safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Araghchi described the trip to Beijing as part of Tehran's ongoing diplomatic consultations with global partners, with talks expected to cover both bilateral ties and broader regional stability. The flurry of diplomatic engagements reflects Iran's efforts to consolidate regional and international support amid a sharpening power struggle with the U.S. over vital waterways and regional influence. Ukraine has released footage purportedly showing its domestically produced Flamingo grounded launch cruise missile striking targets inside Russia as part of an overnight deep strike operation. The Flamingo missile is claimed to have a range of 3,000 kilometers, approximately 1,900 miles, marking a significant addition to Ukraine's long-range strike arsenal. Kyiv has intensified its retaliatory deep strikes in recent weeks, hitting a series of Russian oil facilities and a luxury high-rise building in Moscow in the lead-up to Russia's annual May 9 Victory Day celebrations. The strikes signal Ukraine's growing capability and willingness to carry the fight deeper into Russian territory as the war enters a critical phase. Media pioneer and philanthropist Ted Turner, the founder of CNN, has passed away at the age of 87. Turner revolutionized global television news by launching CNN in 1980 as the world's first 24-hour news network, transforming how breaking news was delivered worldwide. A bold businessman and risk-taker, he built a vast media empire that included TBS, TNT, Cartoon Network, and Turner Classic Movies, and he also owned the Atlanta Braves baseball team. Beyond media, Turner was a well-known philanthropist, conservationist and environmental advocate who founded the United Nations Foundation. His legacy includes reshaping modern news broadcasting and leaving a lasting impact on global media and philanthropy. Moving on, North Korea has deleted all references to uniting with South Korea from its constitution, underscoring Pyongyang's push for a more hostile policy towards Seoul. The revised constitution, introduced in March and shared at South Korea's Unification Ministry news conference, also includes a new clause delineating North Korea's territory, stating it borders China and Russia to the north and the Republic of Korea to the south. The development follows North Korean leader Kim Jong-un labeling Seoul as the most hostile state in a policy address in March, with Pyongyang conducting 4 missile tests in April alone. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung has called for unconditional talks with the North, but Pyongyang has repeatedly ignored Seoul's overtures and continued to label the South its most hostile adversary. North Korea has also drawn closer to Russia, sending troops and artillery shells to support Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, as Kim vows to further expand his nuclear forces. Business news is lined up next. For now, a short breather.
G7 trade ministers convened in Paris on Wednesday for the second day of their summit, hosted by French Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade Nicolas Forestier. The high-level gathering brings together trade chiefs from the world's 7 leading economies at a time of significant global economic uncertainty and mounting trade tensions. France's role as host underscores Paris's active engagement in shaping the multilateral trade agenda amid shifting global dynamics. The summit is expected to address pressing issues, including tariff disputes, supply chain resilience, and the broader impact of geopolitical tensions on international commerce. Outcomes from the 2-day ministerial meeting are anticipated to signal the G7's collective stance on global trade policy in the months ahead. American tech and e-commerce giant Amazon has announced it will invest more than 15 billion euros, approximately $18 billion, in France over the next 3 years, according to a statement sent to an international media. The massive investment will support the construction of new logistics sites, the development of cloud and artificial intelligence capabilities, and the consolidation of existing networks across the country. The move is expected to create more than 7,000 jobs in France, delivering a significant boost to the French economy at a time of global economic uncertainty. The announcement comes as France has been actively courting major international investments, positioning itself as a leading destination for technology and infrastructure development in Europe. Amazon's commitment signals strong confidence in France as a strategic hub for its expanding European operations in logistics, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. Croatia's Verni has launched what it claims is Europe's first commercial robotaxi service on the streets of Zagreb, operating 10 automated vehicles for a select number of customers since April 8. Backed by Uber and powered by Chinese self-driving firm Pony.ai, the service is intended to be fully autonomous, though a human operator remains temporarily behind the wheel during the current phased rollout in case intervention is needed. The nearly month-long rollout represents a significant step forward in Europe's push toward self-driving public mobility, with Croatia emerging as an unlikely pioneer in the race to commercialize robotaxi technology. The service is expected to move towards full driverless operation as the phased rollout progresses and confidence in the technology grows. Thai Commerce Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Supaji Sutumpun has met with the Office of the United States Trade Representative to fast-track negotiations on a reciprocal trade agreement. The move aims to bolster economic confidence and shield Thailand from the impact of U.S. trade enforcement actions. During talks, the Thai delegation proposed increased private sector investment in the U.S. and pushed for tax exemptions on Thai products that do not compete with American domestic manufacturing. Both sides agreed to further discuss timelines and operational details to ensure a practical and easily implementable trade framework. Thailand is set to send a delegation to Washington, D.C. on May 13 to 14, 2026 to testify before the USTR regarding a Section 301 investigation and clarify the country's trade and manufacturing structures.
Time now for a sports update. The Cricket Association of Nepal has announced a revised schedule for the Tri-Nation ODI practice series featuring Scotland, United States and Nepal A beginning tomorrow. According to the updated fixture, the series will begin tomorrow, Thursday, at the Mulpani Cricket Ground. The series will run until 11th May with Nepal A playing 2 matches each against both visiting teams. Nepal A is scheduled to face Scotland on Saturday, while matches against the US will take place on May 8 and 11. Earlier, the schedule was postponed by 1 day due to technical reasons. A 17-member preliminary squad has been announced under head coach Raju Basnath with Anil Kumar Shah as captain. Following this series, Scotland and the USA will participate in the ICC World Cup League 2 Tri-Nation ODI series with Nepal. Meanwhile, the women's cricket squad for the upcoming Asian Games qualifier and the ACC Women's Premier Cup has also been announced. In a statement released today, CAN confirmed Indu Burma as the captain of the squad. Pooja Mahato has been named vice-captain, with players including Bindu Rawal, Suman Khadka, Ruby Podar and others also in the team. The Asian Games qualifier will take place in Malaysia from May 23rd to 31st, followed by the ACC Women's Premier Cup scheduled from June 1st to 13. Now the weather details from across Nepal and then the world. Before wrapping up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Constitutional Council meeting called first time after amendment ordinance, appointment of Chief Justice on the agenda. Nepal scraps trade union provisions for civil servants. Government orders audit of vehicles used by former top office bearers. Verification begins for displaced squatters in Kathmandu Valley. Parliamentary committee to conduct field inspection. Property registration and land services shifted to local governments, mandated to manage staff and infrastructure. 3 evacuated as hantavirus outbreak on cruise ship. Leaves 3 dead and sparks international alarm. Spain faces political row over ship docking. And players threaten French Open boycott over prize money. Sabalenka and Goff back action as dispute with Roland Garros escalates. That's it for this edition of News Hour here on NTV World. Do join us through our social media pages and also visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Good night.